I think we are ready to rumble for the live British Championship commentary of round 4, 2014 Aberystwyth. And as usual, we have the audience here in Aberystwyth, and we have Mr. Ravikumar.
Hello, everyone.
So, what is your assessment of today's games? We had a complaint yesterday that you said there was going to be boring chess, but it wasn't really anything of the sort. It was quite an interesting game.
Yeah, but I think, like, yesterday, a couple of games went very, very long, and Howell escaping with a draw. I think probably Wow was better at some point, and also, despite that opening play with knight e7 and everything, and the game against
Nick Fernandez, Nick Perch, he didn't manage to win. Yeah, amazing. Okay, so if you want to pull down the blinds, then carry on. Right, so let's get cracking with Tan versus Hawkins. Now, Justin Tan, am I right in thinking he's a student at Woodbridge School?
Yeah, he's a student in Woodbridge School. I think.
I mean, he's really come from nowhere, hasn't he?
Huh?
Come from nowhere.
Yeah.
And here he finds himself leading the British 23-75. He's obviously a pretty strong player. Are you denying him?
I think possibly his rating suggests he is. So, which country is he from?
I'm guessing Singapore. But
somewhere
anybody know?
Australia.
Great. Well, I'm glad somebody knows what they're doing in this place.
So all the way.
And ironically, it's the youngest member of the audience. Very embarrassing.
So all the way from Australia, 3 out of 3, playing Jonathan Hawkins, who's I think is in excellent nick, isn't it? I mean, like.
Well, he's played very well in this tournament, but to be honest, his opponent yesterday didn't put up much resistance. Marcus Harvey, he played an uncharacteristically weak game. So let's see what happens anyway. So Tan is white, and please give us the moves.
E4, E5.
E4, E5.
Knight F3, Knight C6.
Knight F3, Knight C6.
And Bishop to B5.
Okay.
And he's added one more game to Knight GE7.
Knight GE7. Okay, so this is the Cosio variation. And if you go next door to the bookstore, you're going to find a book this thick on this line. I remember Bent Larson used to play this line to get his opponents out of the book. That's what people did. Back in the 1970s, they used to play to get their opponents out of the book. It was a very rare bird.
And I think also that,
it can't be that bad, but it is reputed to be a bit passive, isn't it?
Yeah. The one main thing that it does solve is, in the Ravikumar, you have a problem that the bishop comes to b5, he's straight away at some point threatening to take the knight and take the pawn on e5. So by playing knight ge7, I know he's passive, but he's probably planned g6, bishop d7 eventually.
Well, I wonder whether Tan is a specialist in the exchange variation.
Yeah, and also
there's no exchange variation anymore.
And also, if you see the choices of opening that Jonathan is making, he's just not going through routine stuff, isn't it?
Well, this is slightly unusual. It has been played a lot in recent years, and it all depends how Black wants to play it. Sometimes he plays it with g6 and then bishop g7 and tries to get a kind of King's Indian position. I remember that Larson just used to play his knight to g6 like Fernandez, but it's a different position, of course, and just play on from there. So let's see what White does. I imagine, did he castle or play c3?
C3.
C3, the standard Rai Lopez move. There we are.
C3, A6.
A6.
Bishop A4.
And now G6 is normal.
D6.
D6. Okay, so this is.
He's turning it into, this.
Steinitz.
Yeah, Steinitz, which is, a lot of chess juniors from Azerbaijan are taught to play that, and the Azerbaijan coaches in general believe that teaches you how to deal with the Railopers, like you have a position with fairly, I've seen them, train this.
The Azerbaijani juniors. They teach them this variation.
No, they don't teach knight e7. They teach straight away d6, but it's very similar.
Okay. Well, this is very old. Yes, it's quite a solid variation. The main line goes d4. Black plays bishop d7. Then White plays bishop b3 voluntarily, threatening knight g5, and Black's supposed to play h6. And you get a very solid line here where black puts his knight on g6, strong pointing e5, and sometimes he gets his bishop out to g5. Not many grandmasters play this way because it's thought to be a bit slow. Portish, I remember, used to play this way. He actually won a couple of games with this, won some nice games with it. It's a very, very solid setup.
Yeah.
But in general, white's thought to be a bit better. And d4 and then bishop b3 is the main line. So let's see what he does. I mean, maybe Hawkins feels this guy's young. He might not know all the refinements of what is basically an old system. Okay.
So bishop a4.
d6.
Bishop a4. d6.
Yeah.
d4.
Yes.
Bishop d7, unpinning it.
Bishop b3.
And then castle.
Okay, so that is already less challenging because bishop b3 threatens knight g5.
Yeah.
So I suppose the idea is if he castles now, black doesn't need to play h6. Yeah. Because you can play knight g6, and when he plays bishop b3 now, you can just go bishop e7.
Yeah.
And you don't have to play this lousy move h6.
Yeah, and I think that bishop b3 has a lot of point in there.
Well, that's the main line. So maybe Hawkins' opening idea has been successful already. Yeah. It's difficult to imagine that this castling is an imprecision. So but he's trying to do without h6 black.
So he played knight g6.
There we are. Okay.
And then white played bishop e3.
Bishop e3. So he's settling for very standard development.
Yeah. And
all
then,
right.
Yeah, and then black plays bishop e7.
Bishop e7. Yeah.
Bishop e7 and d5, committal move.
D takes e5.
No, d5.
Oh, d5. d5, okay.
And I think d takes e5 shouldn't cause him any problem because he can take back with pawn. So he's played d5 because which is the main thing is to exchange that bishop and have like a favorable King's Indian.
Yeah, but
so d5, knight b8.
I just don't believe this way of playing for white because black can quickly get f5 in.
No, I can see you can say get f5, but it's like you playing a King's Indian structure with a funny knight on g6, and you have exchanged the bishop like square bishop, and the thing I can see is it's a clear plan. I can play c4, knight c3. And even if your knight comes to f4, it probably means nothing, not much. So I think I like this d5 move quite a bit.
I would prefer that if white hadn't castled. I think once white castles, it gives black a bit of a target. Anyway, we can see what he's doing. So he's got to play knight b8, yes?
Knight b8, bishop into d7, knight into d7.
Yeah. I doubt this can cause too many
problems. And he went c4 now, strengthening the center.
Yeah, castles.
Castles.
Yeah.
And then he played knight c3. And now Jonathan played f5, which is, I think...
Well, that's fairly thematic, isn't it?
Fairly thematic, yes. Because, see, what is black's problem here, okay? Black's problem is queenside pawns. You can't play c6 and play cd5 and hope to get better. You can't play c5. You can't leave it like that because eventually white can push c5. So he goes for f5 break.
Well, I mean, that is thematic. I mean, I just wonder here whether black could have played knight h4.
Is there any games with that?
Well, let's just see. What about knight h4 first? Is that not a thematic move?
Knight h4, I would expect to play knight h4, bishop h4.
You're going to take that?
Yeah, take on h4, bishop takes h4,
yeah.
And then just queen d2, ensuring that, I just don't want you to trade off the bishop straight away from me.
Right, and now go f5.
f5, I have to take.
You could go f3.
I'll take on f5 and then play
take
f3.
on f5.
Knight e4. I mean, I'm quite happy with what I've got.
Okay, but is it such a great advantage?
Yeah.
Just dropping back, are there any games? We will see. Lots of games with this, lots of games. Knight h4 has been played in quite a few of them. h6. I'm surprised to see so many games from this position.
Could the other reason for an old Indian move?
Probably not, no. Probably not. Okay, so white's results with this variation are around 50%. It's not especially common. f5 is just one of the moves. So, okay, Hawkins plays f5. I presume white takes that, yes?
Yeah, e takes f5.
Yeah.
And then he played rook takes f5.
Yeah.
And then knight e4.
Yes.
And I think this knight e4 is almost, like planting a knight on e4. So the theory in King's Indian that I kind of worked out, I mean, in the sense that when I was playing, you get that outpost on e4 against any King's Indian, and then your knight sits there. Unless black can get rid of that knight, I have a feeling that it's going to be very like a unit defending all sides. And Hawkins has played knight f4 now.
Knight f4. I mean, that knight on g6 is not particularly impressive. So it's either got to be knight h4 or just put it in there. I mean, you have to say knight f4 looks very natural.
And the point I'd like to make is that each and every of white pieces are, like ideally placed. And white has this plan of playing c5 and going into that. So, I mean, I would expect here rook c1.
Well, my plan is to go queen e8 and queen g6 and then rook af8. So you do your stuff on the queen side and let's see what happens. What are you going to do?
I have a feeling here I got to secure the knight. So can I just play?
Oh, you win rook c1. That's cheating.
Rook c1.
All right then. I'll go queen e8.
Queen e8. Okay.
No hanging around.
You are playing queen g3, are you?
I hope not. Queen g6, yes, but
So,
queen g3, no.
Am I going to play g3 and kick that knight back where it belongs?
That knight's not going anywhere.
And king h1.
Oh, my dead body. Eh?
King h1.
May well happen now. I'll have to king h1. Well, okay. Is this so bad? Let's see. We could have a desperado knight here. Should we do that? Come on. It's only analysis. Yes, sir. That's one of your favourite phrases, isn't it?
Yeah, rook c3.
What about your pawn on b2?
Okay.
I might get greedy. See, it's not that easy to nail me down, is it? I mean, I think okay. If white was allowed 4 or 5 moves to get a grip on the position, then.
So what goes wrong in that variation? What happens?
Well, nothing. I just played my queen to
If
g6.
I just play queen d3 in the position, I just play g3.
Well, okay. How are you going to do this? You
So I'm going to play g3 straight away.
g3 first. All right. Well, I can still plonk my knight in. Don't forget.
Queen into d3.
Okay. Rook takes f3.
And then if I go c5, rook c1 and c5.
I just don't think this is so bad.
I'm not saying it's bad, but white has no problems. White has what he has. Okay, rook c1. You got to show counterplay, not me. If you don't have counterplay, I have b4, c5. I'm going to come at that king. That's the main problem I have there.
I'm just wondering whether bishop g5 is possible. I don't know. It looks a bit weird. Probably not.
You see, the problem is that I'm 2 moves away from getting some massive space. So unless you're going to play some knight f6.
Oh, what if I just play a little concession first?
And then b4.
All right, a5.
a3.
Yeah, take it off.
A b4.
Okay, now I've got a file at least. So what now? It's a little bit better for white probably. Let's check it on the engine. I imagine it will be a little bit better. 0.34. Oh no, a bit more than that.
So the point I'm making here is that you put your minor pieces in excellent squares. The queen is doing an excellent job, and any amount of opening, it has to kind of favor white. Not in a big way, but a little way. I mean.
That knight f4 move, I have to say, I just felt that something wasn't quite right about it. And I think black should really be thinking about putting his queen.
So he did play knight f4.
I know, but I'm just saying, do you think that was the best move? Queen e8 looks slightly better timing to me.
Yeah, but you always are going to run against this knight on e4, which is like, it's an amazing knight on e4. Unassailable knight. The only way you can get rid of the knight is you will replace a major piece on it. Then, okay. But this position, knight f4, you play g3 straight away. It seems to be a very, he's got excellent thing, and then he went back knight g6.
Well, g3 was to interrupt that plan of queen e8, wasn't it?
And then knight g6, and I don't see any kind of play for
Hawkins.
black. You know, the only thing is he can double on the f line, and then there's knight fd2.
Well, even to double on the f file, you've got to get your queen out of the way.
Yeah.
So.
So I have to play here now, rook c1, and just go after my plan.
Yeah, I mean, it does look a bit better for white, I have to say. That knight on g6, we talked about Fernandez's knight yesterday. This knight is also less than impressive.
Yeah, but also you lost 2 tempos, did you? You went knight f4, and then g3, you got to go back to g6. That's trouble, isn't it?
I think this move, knight f4, is imprecise. Just check this out. I mean, g3, okay, he plonks the knight in. You know, black's a bit cramped, so if that forces an exchange of pieces, then it might be a bit better. Does that force an exchange of pieces? Anybody see something? I mean, whenever you play a move like that, you've really got to check it, because things could happen to you. Is there something wrong with that move? I mean, it makes more sense to me. Maybe the knight's trapped in there. That's the problem. You can just play knight fd2 or something, and you can't take this pawn, can you? Because of queen b3. Yeah. You know, the knight can't really go on any sort of raid.
You know, what was wrong with my line? I thought when I played just queen into d3 and allowed rook f3.
Well, nothing, but I just think that with more space, I should keep the pieces on. So that makes more sense. What was the knight doing there?
No, I mean, like, I feel that I don't need to keep more pieces on, because I got the space and I got already knight on e4. Well, the simpler it is, it's going to be easier for me to play, but it's just different opinion.
Yeah, let's
But
agree.
you know, why to give that b2 pawn and, you know, overcomplicate it? Knight d3, take it by d3, rook takes f3, possibly that's his best move, and then once he plays b4.
All right, okay, on we go. So g3, knight g6, any more moves?
No more moves, but I don't like this time-wasting move. You know, I mean, he went knight f4. I don't think he accomplished anything with that g3 move. And
so Ravi is stridently coming out against Hawkins' position, as we've seen, and you know, he will not be shifted from his opinion, as we've also seen. But at this occasion, I'm going to agree with him. White is a bit better. So let us move on, and we will move now to Ems against Ward. Has this game finished yet?
No.
Ah, I'm a bit surprised about that. Right, two of the
old horses.
Not only that, they're extremely good friends.
Extremely good friends.
Extremely good friends. So I mean, it's no real hardship to have a draw at this point in time. Of course, it's worse for John Ems because it's like giving a draw with white. So it'll be interesting to see if they play a proper game here. So
c4 e6.
Right. Well, that's already a clear sign that you know, something's afoot here, because Ems almost always plays e4.
Okay.
So let's see what's going on here. Is he trying to out-prepare him or what? We'll see.
c4 e6, and then second move is g3.
Yeah.
d5, bishop g2.
Yes.
Knight f6, knight f3.
Yes.
Bishop e7, d4.
5 d4.
Yeah, d4.
Okay.
Castles.
Okay. Castles.
Queen c2.
He played queen c2 instead.
Yeah.
He did not castle.
Yeah, he did not want to go into that game between Akshaya and where Chris had, you know, played that novelty b4, and I mean, it's not really new, but it's quite, b4 is quite a committal move, but he went on to win that game. So that's why this careful consideration, queen c2. Whenever I looked at this move, I thought black should now play c5. Makes sense, isn't it?
Well, normally the Queen's Gambit, you wait until black plays c6 before you develop your queen, precisely because of the reason you mentioned. Yeah. So c5 is critical, isn't it? I mean, let's take a look at the stats here. I'm pretty sure that we'll see c5 is going to be... c5 has been played in most games, and not really surprising, but with white scoring 59%.
But the problem I have with this position is that, you know, you're having played early queen c2, and now black obliges him by playing c6, which I don't understand. I mean, why would you play c6? It's quite
well. If we compare this with the normal line, where
Castle.
White castles. Now
Yeah,
black
B
takes
into
on
C4.
C4.
Queen C2.
And now A6.
Queen into C4.
Yeah.
B5. Queen C2.
Yeah, and then
Bishop B7.
and so on. White chooses.
Bishop D2.
Or bishop G5 or bishop F4.
Yeah, but this is the game happened between Akshay and Chris Ward, where bishop D2 was played, and then he went bishop E4 and B4.
Bishop
He
E4.
actually had a nice position, Queen C1,
Yeah.
and then B4.
I see.
This is you know, I mean, grandmasters play bishop B7 back, and there are other games, but this one B4 is quite interesting.
So this frustrates black because if he takes on C4 now, trying to get the other line, Queen takes C4, A6. There must be another move that white can play here. Is it knight E5? But what's the difference? I'm trying to figure out what the difference is. There must be some other move white can play here.
So he plays C6.
No, but I'm just saying, I'm trying to figure out the difference, why white should play Queen C2 straight away.
Having Queen C2, DC4, it's black's turn to play.
He's played A6, but I'm just white castled in the other game, but I'm trying to find another
Just took on
move.
C4, it's black's turn to move.
A6.
No, D into C4. Oh, not now. I mean, oh, of course you shouldn't take and play A6. That's an altogether different variation, isn't it?
I presume it's just knight C3, is it?
Yeah.
Is that, and then if B5, Queen D3 is something like this?
B7, E4.
Not E4.
Not E4, maybe bishop F4.
I wish I knew my theory a bit better. Is it knight E5? I'm trying to figure out. That must also be a candidate move. And then if B5, just move the queen somewhere.
Yeah.
Something like that.
But can't you play A4 to stop that B5? That used to be the theory, isn't it? That what Smyslow plays quite a bit.
A4 here.
A4, Queen D5.
But hang on, that doesn't stop it. That doesn't stop it because I can still go B5.
Yeah, but
So you don't actually stop it.
so I mean, very strange. You played C6.
Well, not that strange if they're intending, they're intending to shake hands.
Okay.
Anyway, the point is that C5 is a more critical move, and after that, black will be trying to move rook to C8 as quickly as possible to embarrass the position of white's queen. But anyway, he goes C6. Okay, and now castles.
C6 castle.
Yes.
Now we have a competition.
Competition, all right. Okay, so if you've come from the tournament hall, you're not allowed to enter. Black seems to have lots of choice. We've got lots of books which you can win, or you can even win a video, so not bad prizes. And all you've got to do is forecast black's next move and explain it. What did black play? I'd like to figure out what was going on in people's minds at this point. You're very near the door, very near the door. Always interesting. Yes, sir. B6. Okay. Well, that is a pretty logical move. Just getting the queenside pieces out, but he didn't do that. Sorry about that. However, that is a very good move.
I think that's a sensible move, isn't it? After
Very
you play
sensible.
C6, you play B6 to develop yourself.
Knight B7.
Knight BD7. Well, I'm pretty sure that's also a mainline move. And then probably follow up with B6. You could do. He didn't do that either. So there we go. What about that?
Knight A6.
Sorry, I think you were first.
C5.
C5. What, his hand slipped on the last move?
But I don't know why you take 2 moves to play C5.
You're only playing John Eames. I mean, play C6 then C5. Nice idea, but he didn't do that either. No, only one guess per person.
Yeah, Knight A6.
Knight A6. Well, you want to tickle the queen with Knight B4. This lady's not for tickling. I'm very sorry to say Knight A6 was not played either.
No.
Yes, sir.
H6.
H6, an enigmatic move.
Just bishop G5.
No background mates today, Sonny. Hey? No bishop G.
Bishop G5, which is a
Well, I suppose you can play E6 if you want. No law against it.
We got Matthew suggesting Bishop D7.
You entering the you're so desperate to win one of the books.
You haven't seen.
An ECF official.
You haven't seen my library back at home. I love chess books.
In that case, what is your suggestion?
Bishop D7.
Bishop D7. That's no square for a bishop.
That shows you need a book.
Hey,
Not with that Bishop D7. Yes, sir.
Hang on, I think you were next. Yes. Pardon? B5. That is correct. Just a second. Hang on a second. These books are far too valuable. That's one part of the equation. Please explain.
You're putting pressure on white's c1,
There it is.
and if they exchange takes b4, when you see that you can play a6 to defend it, and it also gets your bishop off.
Right, very good explanation. Round of applause, please. And would you like to come and get your prize?
You have a choice of a DVD or a book. Alderman Gambit.
Right, anyway, so I have seen this move played before, and normally I don't think White will be in too much of a hurry to take that pawn. Quite often he actually pushes by in a position like this to gain some space.
Yeah, I mean, B5 is surprising completely because, you know, I mean, this is showing that, you know, Chris is ready to go ahead, you know.
You reckon? If you say
B5
so.
and then C5 was played and then
C5 was played. Yeah, well, if you think about it, if White plays a move like B3, now can Black get active straight away here? What if he takes on C4? Can he do this? How about that, Bishop A6? Is that one way to play?
Bishop A6, yeah, you can play that, but then Knight BD2, isn't it?
Knight BD2, Knight BD7. Is Black not getting active here? I don't know.
You can, but Queen A4 makes it looks a bit tricky.
Just trying to figure out why White didn't play B3.
Yeah, and I think that B3 should have been played. I think looks like logical to play B3 because you have that tension maintained there. But C5 is just closing. I think, you know.
Well, if we look at the games on the database, you'll see that in most of the high-rated games, C5 was played, and B3 has also been played. So it's clearly a choice by White, and he decides to block the position. He's just trying to make it as difficult as possible for Black to get those queenside pieces out. So he blocks the position and asks Black, what are you going to do with those pieces? So, I mean, A5 would be the logical move here.
Yeah, A5 played.
Did he play that? He has to, or White can sort of play B4 himself, and then A4, and then you could leave her open the queen side. So he's got to stop that.
A5, and now Bishop G5.
Bishop G5.
Yeah. This is like, you know, developing into a good game because, you know, you can see that obviously the knight is going to go to D2, and White might break through on E4 square.
I'm kind of expecting Black to put his bishop on A6, you know, with B4 and then play bishop A6, something like that. I don't really see any other way for him to get his pieces out. But of course, once he plays B4, he leaves himself open to jabs like A3. So, okay, what did Black do next? I mean, I'm expecting Knight BD7.
Yeah, Bishop D5. That's the game.
That's the position, and they're still thinking. Okay, well, it's easier for White to develop his pieces. That's all you can say. You can develop your knight to D2. You can put your knight in on E5. You can aim for E4. For instance, when White plays E4 in a position like this, what's Black going to do? He can scarcely take it, which would expose his queen side. And it's hard to see where Black's counterplay is coming from. Again, let me try and exchange some pieces. Okay, Ravi, here we go. I'm going to go knight E4.
Knight E4. Bishop takes E7.
Yeah, queen takes.
Knight BD2.
Right, I'm happy to exchange.
Queen D2.
Queen D2, and now I need a good move here. You're not really threatening too much, so let's go knight D7. Is this so bad? I'm threatening E5 myself, aren't I?
Yeah, I think that's the problem doing that mass exchange, isn't it? You are going to make e5 very uncomfortable.
Well, any exchange in this position will help black's cause because if black's very cramped.
So bishop g5 is still thinking.
That's why I don't necessarily like bishop g5, to be absolutely honest. I think that's going to promote exchanges. I mean, why isn't white a bit more patient here? For instance, what about bishop f4? Isn't that a better square? Ravi is temporarily incapacitated by computer problems, so we'll carry on with this.
Yeah, I'm just switching.
Sure. Bishop f4, I don't know, you know, that seems to me to be also a very challenging move, not allowing black to exchange pieces. I just don't see what's wrong with that move. Let's see. So takes. Has white got anything better here?
So knight e4, I think I should play bishop to e7, and then if you play, you know, this could be quite leading to a nice draw. Then neither side hasn't got anything.
Yeah, that seems to be a plausible sequence, and white might be a bit better here, but you know, black should be all right. It's not as cramped as it was before. E4. Okay, you could go e4. Yes. Well, as long as I can put my knight on d5, I think I'm not unhappy. So you go knight g5. Yeah, knight here. Knight takes e4. Yes, might be a little bit better because knight's getting into d6, but still, I suppose that is a bit better for white. And then just put the rook on e1. That must be a little bit better for white.
Yeah, C6.
You know, black's a bit cramped still. Well, I suppose, you know, he could delay knight e4 and go knight bd7, but then I suppose white goes knight bd2.
Okay.
And it's more difficult to play knight e4.
And I think bishop, in theory, suggests knight bd2 could be better than bishop g5. Have we got any games with bishop g5?
Probably. 4 games, all won by white. What about that? Quite high rated games at that. Black has not been scoring well. Not been scoring well at all. What I don't understand is he's recommending a5 for black here, although it's already been played. So I don't understand that. All right, well, that's the position. Any more moves?
No more moves, but I'm saying, what's wrong with following theory with the knight bd2?
I cannot answer that question. Bishop g5 scores well for white, so.
And after bishop g5, 9 moves. There's a little bit of, you know, Chris has taken, he's got 1 hour and 3 minutes left. And John Ems has 1 hour 22 minutes. So it looks like he's played something very quickly. Maybe he just prepared this morning.
Right, let's go on. Howell versus Williams. Now, this has the potential to be a really interesting game. Because as we know, Simon Williams is extremely combative. You know, no respecter of rating or personality. He will go for it. White, black, green, blue, doesn't matter. He's going to go for it. So here he is with black against David Howell, current British champion.
Yeah.
Let's see what he comes up with. We expect something
E4,
fighting chess.
E4. For a surprising time, he goes to E4.
Okay. Well, he probably thinks against Simon, you know, I might as well go down the main line. Let's see what he's got, because Williams has been playing the dragon recently.
Yeah.
So c5.
C5, knight f3.
Yeah.
And it strangely came in knight c6.
Right, okay.
And now the Rosalima with bishop b5.
I mean, that doesn't stop him from playing the dragon, does it?
Yeah.
Because he could play the accelerated version.
Yeah.
I've also seen Williams play just the main line, the classical variation with d6. He also plays that from time to time.
I think this bishop b5 check Rosalima variation against a dragon and against this, it's a good, quite a nice weapon, isn't it? You have a nice build up there, you know, slowly building up the position. And if you see now that he plays bishop b5, and then black plays e6, and then he preempts with bishop to c6, giving him that weakness. Bishop into c6, b into c6.
Wait a minute, he played e6.
Yeah. And then
How took it?
How took it, b into c6, and then he played b3, which is strange move in that position.
So bishop takes c6, of course that isn't obligatory. But I suppose black could be thinking about knight ge7 and then a6, and then white doesn't get the opportunity to double black's pawns. It looks a little bit premature, but I know it is a move here. So black takes back with a b pawn, yes?
Yeah.
And now I have seen moves like e5 played. That's also a move in this position. Castles is obviously a move. b3. You sure that's what Howell played?
Absolutely. That's what b3 was played, because there's also a lot of theory. And he played b3 because, you know, it's a solid move, isn't it? Making sure that, you know, you can kind of have a central blockade there.
The normal plan for black here is to play knight e7 to g6 and then play f6 and shut down the diagonal. So that's what I expect Williams to do. Did he play knight e7? That's normal.
And now he played d6.
d6.
Okay.
Okay, so perhaps he's thinking about e5,
Yeah.
closing the bishop's diagonal. Bishop b2? Or castle?
He played e5, strangely.
e5. Okay, this is already a very strange opening, isn't it?
D takes e5, knight takes e5.
He took it.
D6 times e5.
Yeah, there's some trap of the queen on a1, is there?
Yeah,
Is that
D
the
takes
idea? Let's
e5,
see. So
knight
it
takes
takes queen d4,
isn't it some
knight c4, queen takes here, knight c3. Is that queen getting trapped?
possibly? We need to click the engine on to find out.
No, use your brain, mate. Use your brain. e5. This game's gone off the rails already, hasn't it? This has gone off the rails.
So D takes e5.
That's very unusual stuff. Let's just check this. This has been played. Look at that. Lots of games. D takes e5. Knight takes e5. Yes.
And what's wrong with queen d4?
Well, white seems to win a lot of games here. I presume he goes. There must be some trap of the queen we haven't seen here. Just let's check it out. How do we win that queen? Okay, what if we go bishop b2 first? How about this for a crazy idea? Now what?
Bishop b2 first.
Yeah, let's give it a
And
go.
then queen takes b2.
Queen takes b2, knight c3. Is that queen? Is that
Queen a3 and try to escape.
Queen a3 and try to escape. Hang on a minute.
Queen f3.
Queen f3. What's going on here? This looks like an accident.
Maybe
Ravi,
that's
so exciting. Ravi's falling asleep.
It's, I don't know. I mean, like, you know, these obscure lines, you know, these grandmasters prepare, you know. I mean, you
When your co-commentator falls asleep, that's when you know it's time to retire.
Okay. So queen d4, knight c3. No, are you playing bishop b2, queen into b2, knight c3?
This is game over. This is the reason they don't play queen d4, isn't it?
Okay.
Because we're threatening knight c4 winning the queen, and queen f3 just wins in this position, doesn't it? So that's it. Very trappy indeed. So I guess queen d5 is also another possibility, is it? What about that? I like moving my queen around early in the opening. It gives me a thrill.
Okay, for queen d4, he actually plays knight c4, queen into a1, knight c3, shutting out that queen.
Is this the game?
No, that's not the game, but that's the analysis.
Whose analysis?
Fritz 14 book.
Oh, I don't believe in that rubbish. What about bishop b2? That seems to win.
Yeah. But I think the principal thing is that the weakness on the c6 and the f7 is what? So,
Is that the game?
they played d5, knight d5, and he played queen g5.
Queen g5, a third queen move. This game is living up to its billing, isn't it?
And then Howell goes knight g4.
Right, so black's got queen d4, he's got queen d5, he's also got queen g5. This is absolutely crazy stuff. So queen g5, first of all refute queen d5 for me. Queen d5, what's wrong with that?
Queen d5. I guess he's going to play knight c4, I guess.
Well, queen takes g2.
I see the problem.
Well, we better check this out later because it's crazy stuff. Queen g5, a third queen move. No, queen takes e5 check. That would be a quick way to lose, unfortunately. It's difficult to see the board from out there in the audience, isn't it? It's difficult to see.
So queen g5, knight g4 played in the game.
Knight g4, this game has gone bananas, hasn't it? They're breaking all the rules of chess here. So knight g4.
And then f5.
Oh man, you're making this up.
You better not be. Is he going to go knight e3, f4, then h5? Hunt the knight down.
Okay.
Actually, that wins the
I
knight.
think that's a competition move for them to decide, isn't it?
What? How's next move? Can I see that? Maybe I can't even see your computer. Right. Okay. All right. Then we'll have a competition. Ravi's just giving the books away today. The Crash Test Chess, a very appropriate video by Simon Williams. That'll be the prize. Right. We want White's next move then, with suitable explanation and analysis. That should usually separate the men from the boys and the people who have just come in from the tournament hall. Analysis, please. Yes, sir. What's the right? He's been sitting there all the time. He's been sitting there all the time. He hasn't just come in. Is that the right answer?
Queen f3 played in the game.
Well done. Round of applause for our friend there. Excellent. Crash Test Chess, checkmate by Grandmaster Simon Williams. Congratulations. Well done. But you have to hand the video back if you can't now explain your move.
Well, it's attacking C6 and the cards.
Yeah, that's half the video. Now what about the other half? That's the first half. Now what about the other half?
Well, if black now takes the knight, queen takes the C6 pawn with check.
That's true, of course. What you say is perfectly true. But there's one other thing the queen does very importantly on on f3. Oi! Come on, you've got a bit of help from your friends there. Well, defense g2. I mean, there's a real risk that, you know, black could suddenly find all his brazen aggression he turns against him because all these moves and pawns are very committal. So queen f3, has this actually been played? Let's check it out. No games found. Well, there you are. What a surprise. So going back to knight takes e5, loads of games. Queen g5, let's just put this on for a second. It won't take long. Queen g5, queen d5 has been played by Rajapov. Queen d4, clocking in at a cool 93.8% for white, has been played by somebody called Zhang. And queen g5, clocking in at 100% for white, has been played by nobody. So queen g5, okay, whoops, what's going on here? Window panes notation, there we
I
go.
have a question.
Oh, you would do.
Okay.
Go on then, go for it. What is the question?
Is he going to crash out like his DVD?
I don't know. I don't know what's happening here. Queen g5, knight g4, f5, queen f3.
F into g4, queen c6. I can't see.
He took this.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, it looks like a crash out.
looks like crash and burn to me.
I mean, are we going to expect him? Oh, he's got queen e5 check at the very end, but now if
No games played. Queen G5, let's check this out, move by move. 2 games, both won by white. Knight G4, no games, so that is a new move. In both previous games, white went knight F3. So knight G4, it doesn't like white's position after knight H6. F5 it's giving, Deep Fritz's first choice. And now queen F3, F takes G4, clear advantage to black.
I think that, you know, I mean, it's now going to be a complicated mess, isn't it? I mean, it looks like it's going to crash out, but I think if you take the rook on A, the possibility is that.
Right, well, let's look at this variation. He takes this, we come in with the queen, he plays king, where are we going to put the king? Well, I don't know, where will the king go? I like D8 actually, I have to say. I think it's safer on D8, protecting the bishop. And now white really needs a good move, because after taking on A8,
D4 now.
allowing queen takes C1 check, losing all his marbles. Probably not.
No. It's a hard thing, isn't it?
Hard. Why isn't black a piece up at the end of this sequence?
So
this is the way to play against the British champion, isn't it? You know, no respect, below the queen move, so smash up your pawn structure.
Within 10 moves in the opening, Howell has sacrificed a piece, isn't it? I mean, that's something unusual.
Well, hang on, has he sacrificed a piece or did he lose it?
So can't you play?
Because when he played queen F3, there's nothing to go on. It's never been played before. Could he have just blundered?
Yeah.
It's not beyond the realm of possibility.
We're going to put the engine on that move.
Well, no need to put the engine on. You can see what's going to happen.
No, I mean to see if it's better.
Well, according to the engine, knight H6 was a better move in this position. But F5 anyway, queen F3. What have we got here? Any more moves?
No.
Did he take the knight? Just a sec. Did he take the knight?
He took the knight.
Yeah.
And queen and C6 he's thinking now.
Well, you can't really go past king D8. I suppose it's white.
King D8, queen A8, queen E5 check, king D1, queen in A1, knight C3.
I mean, is that the game?
Hasn't been. I'm saying one of the possible variation.
I mean, I think I slightly prefer the idea of moving the knight.
The engine I'm using thinks it's better for white.
What about knight C3 in this position? Just getting the pieces out.
It's quite a complicated mess, isn't it? Not easy at all.
I think white would be better off moving that knight out, threatening D4. If black plays rook B8, now can we go D4? This looks more like it. So black's got to be really careful where he puts his king, actually, because this could be dangerous. You know, white threatens to open up the D file, castles and rook D1 check. This could be very dangerous indeed.
But is it home preparation for Howell's?
Very, very unlikely.
I mean, he can't.
No games have been played in this position.
No, but he can't sack the piece on the board, isn't it? He must have worked out something, isn't it? He doesn't come in 9 moves and then he sacrifices a piece for nothing, isn't it? It must be some kind of a home analysis, and he's relying on. And if I look at the time, it's actually Howell has 1 hour 22 minutes, and in fact Simon Williams has got 49 minutes left of the clock. So I have a feeling it's kind of home preparation.
Howell was 10 minutes late coming as well, so most of that time.
Was he 10 minutes late? So the rule of 1 minute late doesn't apply now, is it?
Can't do.
No.
The more I look at this position, the more I think f7 is a safer square for the king. I think if you go to the d file and white just remembers that he's got to develop pieces, then I think you could be in trouble.
So king f7 is queen a8, queen e5 check king d1, queen a1, queen into c8, and it looks like difficult, isn't it? Where is he going to put the king? That's what he's thinking now.
I think he'll put it on f7. So king f7.
I want to play queen a8.
We take this. He must give a check.
Queen e5 check king d1.
King d1, yeah, makes sense. He takes this.
Queen into c8.
Well, hang on a minute. Do I need to take that?
That's what the engine says, because his queen is kind of bottled up, isn't it? So that is what white is working, and then the king is up on the streets.
White's also got other moves. He doesn't need to take that bishop. He's got queen takes a7.
Has anyone been in the tournament hall? We're not getting anything. Is this the position on the board? Has anyone gone into the tournament hall? Now I have a feeling this could be even a computer error, isn't it? Maybe. They don't play chess.
It's an elaborate practical joke.
No, I have a feeling this isn't right, you know, I mean, this is not our style.
Queen c6 check, definitely happen.
Was someone in the tournament hall?
I've seen queen takes c6 check, so I was thinking that.
And then nothing more.
Well, no, this, you know, queen c6 check, okay, it follows the thread of the game, doesn't it? And this is a fairly crazy variation. Do you want to go and check it out, Ravi?
Yeah.
And I'll plod on with this. So,
Yeah, I can go and check it out. Because, you know, if someone is playing a prime Hawkins.
Ravi can't believe it. He's a dyed-in-the-wool skeptic. Right, so I think having seen king d8, knight c3, where I just think that black's king could be murdered here. You know, rook b8, d4, no checks for the queen. White's just going to castle, you know.
Play the check first.
Check first here.
Yeah.
You might well do. Yeah, that might be the answer. I don't know, it's a position where you can't really make any off-the-cuff comments. You've got to really think about it, haven't you? Okay, so he gives that check. So let's take on a8. So he gives the check. We probably go to d1, don't we, to keep in touch with our pieces. He whips off that rook. And now we need a good move. Well, of course, we can play knight c3, just boxing in the queen. Now, the fact that white's a piece down actually doesn't really mean very much, because black's queen is incarcerated. So as white even got time for an idea like rook e1, rook e3, rook d3, and just go and take the black king apart. I mean, it seems ridiculous, but look at the black queen. So, yeah, I just don't think he's ever going to survive on d8. He'll never survive the onslaught, because white can get a piece of d file very quickly. So king f7 looks far more sensible. Is that true? He's definitely played king f7? King f7, all right. Well, as far as I can see, we've got to take the rook off him. I mean, it's a free rook. It won't be around forever.
You could say the bishop with 9-7 perhaps.
You could do, but then you'd be the exchange down, wouldn't you? The trouble with moves like knight e7 is that, of course, white can castle. And then, I just don't believe it for black, sorry. You've got a lousy king, exchanging a pawn down for nothing. You've got to come in and take that rook. So, queen e5 check, and he's got to play king d1 again, I presume. And now what? I mean, if you don't take that rook, what have you got? Nothing. You can't trap the white queen on a8 with queen c7 because he just moves away. So he's got to come in and whip that rook off, and now knight c3 looks, to me, unfavourable for black. I mean, I don't take the bishop. Why should I take the bishop?
Well, I'm at c4 now, trying to
Yeah, he's got to try and unravel.
And then you've got the possibility to bring the bishop to d4 after that as well.
Well, bishop a3 is also a threat.
Oh, yeah.
But I can defend against that. I mean, let's take the bishop. Bishop a3. What is the score here? I could play knight e2, for instance. It's level on material, isn't it? Or is it? I'm having trouble orientating in this position. White's a pawn up, yeah.
The trouble with that variation is the black knight and rook don't seem to be getting out.
All right, so let's take the bishop then, be greedy. Now, is he going to take on b1? Probably. Well, rook e1 makes the first impression, doesn't it? Surely. How does he defend against this? King's got to march on.
Can't really believe he's going to get out.
Well, he can play g6 and try and crawl out. He can play knight f6 and try and crawl out that way.
Knight e7 and he will.
Well, that allows queen e6 check. I doubt that. No. It's got to try and cover the king. So let's try and work out what's going on here. White sacrificed a piece for 2 pawns.
Rules like that is nothing just goes rules.
You all right, Ray? The game's taking its toll on you.
You know, that crazy game is on the board. So when we check with the you know, controller, you know, nothing wrong. You know, if someone gives something extra to
The
both
game
players.
was played earlier on, and that one's just a wind up.
The one thing I could see is Howell was a bit, you know, I can see he's a bit worried. Okay. So
Well, as far as I can see, in this position, black is probably okay. Although he's still got to get his queen out of the box. I mean, if I could play this positionally. What if I play queen a6 and just keep the queen locked in? How are you going to get the queen out? I mean, the first thing you've got to do, you've got to get your king to safety before that queen ever comes out. But on the other hand, how am I going to win it? I can't win it. So it's a very peculiar position indeed. Sorry? Well, I was going to c4.
No, just pass by me.
That's another pawn on 3. Okay, I see your idea. Bishop a3. I could probably force a draw there just by checking on d3 and checking with the queen again. Maybe. I think it's going to go this way. I mean, going back to king f7, has he got anything better than queen a8? I doubt it.
He played queen a8.
Yep.
Black gave queen e5 check.
Yep.
King d1.
Yep.
And I thought everybody expected him to take on a8.
Yep.
And then when black takes on c8, when white takes on c8, then he takes on b1. He has a piece up. But his pieces are completely bottled down, isn't it? So he went queen c7, which was a surprise.
Queen c7. So that was played. Okay, so he's turning it into an exchange sacrifice.
The engine I'm using thinks clearly that after queen c7, just queen e4, which was played in the game.
Yeah, you get the queen out.
Yeah, and I think it's just a simple exchange up, isn't it? I mean, why didn't he take the a1-1? I mean, what was wrong with that? I mean, everyone.
I can't answer that question. I mean, I would have thought, having come this far, you've got to take that rook. I mean, this is Simon's style. Maybe he thought he doesn't want to defend. That's the only explanation I can come up with. You know, instead of defending, he's going to, you know, go for Howell's throat. So he sacks the exchange. It's more in his style, but I can't explain that. Let's just check this engine out. Yeah, queen takes a1 equal, queen c7, advantage to white. So I just don't understand that. And in fact, deep fritz gives us the main line, the line we looked at there, with the king going to g6 and then rook e5. So let's see this move again. So here, king g6 and now rook e5 apparently.
Yeah, rook e5, then queen a1.
Well, it sets up some draw with queen f5 check and queen e6 check, doesn't it? That's the idea. Queen f5, queen e6, and take the draw.
But I think, you know...
I think this is a bad move, queen c7, isn't it? It's a reckless decision. So, queen e4, all right. Now, black probably has to play bishop b7 to make any sense of it. And then it takes on g4. So, knight f6?
So, queen e4, knight f6 played, and Howell is thinking.
I mean, of course, black has some compensation because the white development is non-existent apart from the queen. It's king stuck in the centre. But you would think that exchanging a pawn would be a lot to contend with. Black is now not only threatening the queen, bishop b7 will be the follow-up. So we've got to put our queen on a good square.
And the engine says that...
Well, queen e2 looks right, I have to say. Queen e2.
Yeah, this queen e2, big advantage.
Big advantage, okay, so bishop b7, what do you do next?
f3.
Just f3, cold-blooded move. And just defend the position.
Okay, see, all I need is knight c3, bishop b2, and I need to get my pieces out, isn't it? That's the main thing.
Well, or bishop b2 first, and then knight a3 to c4. That's also possible.
I mean, it's now a question of how those two minor pieces on c1 and b1, they come into play, and then once they come into play, I believe the balance will tilt in favor of white. But you know, maybe Simon Williams saw that he's got his bishop on the long line and he's having something. This cool move f3 does it.
I think this might have freaked both of their minds out playing this opening variation. You know, both minds are shot already after 12 moves. They can't take the straight because that's a really strange decision, and it sets up this rook to be taken and then doesn't take it. I mean, it's mystifying, isn't it?
Yeah.
Don't you think this has been caused by maybe they've been, David was late to the ball, but I wonder whether he was Sunday when this came in.
I think it's caused by a complete refusal on both players' parts to back down. It's a macho thing. I think that's what it is.
My only
Neither of them wants to back down, you know.
Yeah. Did you see queen a1? You think you consider queen a1?
Having come this far, I think Williams wants to just try and blow Howell off the board, and that's the only way I can explain it. But of course, in this position, after queen e2, has that been played?
Queen e2 not played. He's still thinking.
Still thinking.
And he's got about roughly an hour and 14 minutes, so he's had better time now.
Well, it seems straightforward. Queen e2, f3. It won't be straightforward. That's a bit of a figure of speech. But
bishop b7, he's got to play this ugly move f3.
Well, true. Okay, so I mean, we're going to be treated to a very entertaining game. Great. Thank you very much to both the players. Right, Bachelor versus Nicholas Pert.
Okay, what do we know about Bachelor?
I'm afraid I don't know much about him, apart from he's a talented young player. So, anybody else know anything about him? Oh, is it? I didn't know that. Oh, do you know something about? You know something about this chap?
Is he married? He's still Bachelor.
Yeah. This is his dad. 17.
30. Okay.
Okay.
So, is he played lots of chess so far, or?
Yes, speaking of the GM before.
Okay. Well, let's see what happened then. So, Bachelor is white. What did he do? Anybody in?
He went home.
Right.
Pert, of course, had a very uncomfortable experience with the French defence a couple of days ago against Jack Rudd. So, first question is, if White plays e4, is Pert going to repeat the French?
Probably yes. I mean, he's returning.
Well, he's got a fair bit of repair work to do on the Tarrasch variation in that case because he got a terrible position against Jack Rudd. Anyway, what happened?
D4, D5.
D4, D5, yes?
2G3.
No, that's not the right game.
Sorry.
You're looking at Fernandez's game. Ravi's on fire this afternoon. He's on fire.
Knight F3, F5.
That's still not the right game.
Bachelor Peter against Bert Nicholas.
I thought it was some sort of E4, E5 game.
No, it's Knight F3, F5, D3.
Ah, that's how they got it. Okay, I thought it came from some sort of weirdo
Knight
E4,
F3,
E5.
F5.
Okay, got it. D3.
C6.
Knight C6.
And then E4, E5.
Okay, sorry, I thought it was E4, E5, Knight F3, Knight C6. White plays D3, cowering, and then Black plays F5. I'm going to try and crush you off the board.
D3's not carrying, it's almost an invitation to a sort of Lissitzian gambit.
Isn't there a snap at Knight F3, F5, and E4?
Well, let's see what happened. Okay, because okay, what does White not play? White plays D4 in this position, doesn't he? Or did he take on F5?
So he played Knight C3.
Okay.
Black played Knight F6.
Yeah.
And now he took the pawn on F5.
So we've got a reverse King's Gambit here.
Yeah. And
With Black.
And Black played D5.
D5, yes.
And now White has to play D4 to kind of, break up this one.
Do I?
Yeah, but otherwise, you're giving the center, aren't you?
So what?
I mean, if you allow Bishop C5.
I've won a pawn. Knight H4. What do you do against that? No, look, just a second. There's a line of the King's Gambit, right, which goes like this. Takes Knight F3, Knight F6, E5, Knight H5. What's it called? The shallow defense. I thought that's what you said. Yeah. Yeah. So what's so different here? Why should I let him take the pawn back for free? G4. I think Averbach played like this. He used to play this defence, the King's Gambit, all the time when he was very young, admittedly. Except White's playing Black in the King's Gambit. You can get your head around that.
Perhaps first you go to mine.
Can you see? I don't know. Is Dad's there? Is he the sort of player who would play this sort of move, cold-blooded move? Let's stick the engine on and see what it thinks. See if I can vindicate this move. No, I can't. It says D4 is better for Black. So it does make a difference that I've actually played my knight out to C3. All right, so Nick played D5, and what did White do?
He played D4.
D4, okay.
ED4, Knight D4.
Okay.
Knight times D4, Queen times D4.
Yeah.
Bishop F5. Bishop B5 check, C6.
Yeah. Okay, so provoking that move. Of course, we can exchange the queens at some point with Queen E5 check if you want to. Can't see anything for blank screen there. Just let me know when you want the competition. So Bishop B5 checks. Turn the engine off.
C6.
Okay, it's another baffling game, isn't it? It's another baffling game. Why does he give Black a free move?
Maybe after C6 is our heroes to battle.
Yeah, Bishop B5 checks, C6.
I can only think that is the idea. Bishop B5 check, C6, and now can he castle?
He castled.
He did castle, right? So if Black takes on B5, we go Queen E5 check.
So he played Bishop into C2.
So hang on a sec. Bishop B5 check, C6 castles.
bishop times c2.
Bishop takes c2. That's very bold.
Yeah, and now bishop g5. I think you can't touch that bishop on b5. There's got to be some justification to that, isn't it?
This is another crazy game, isn't it? It must be the heat bringing out this craziness in both players. So you can't touch that bishop on b5. That's fighting talk. I'm going to touch it. Okay, show me.
Should he play rook fe1 check?
Show me the win. Rook fe1 check. Well, okay. If Williams can do it, I can do it. Don't use your energy. Come on, it's cheating. How you gonna blow me away here? There probably is a way, but I don't trust this for 1 second. But I don't see it just yet. And it's bishop f6. I'm going to take with the pawn, I think.
Knight takes d5.
Knight takes d5. Queen takes d5. Well, don't forget black's a piece up, so that would lead to exchanges, which would favour black, wouldn't it? It's the first thing to say. It's a very bold decision to sack this piece. Probably the best way to play against somebody much higher rated. You know, create complications, create a random position, and anybody can go wrong. So it's a good approach. The question is, is it sound? Well, it need not even be sound in some cases, because you might take the view you're going to lose anyway if you just play boring chess. But it's certainly very interesting. I mean, let's take this piece on principle. Is Pert still thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe that black needs to take it. I mean, the way Nick played bishop c2 is just telling I'm going to play normal moves here, and I'm not interested in your piece. But the thing is, if he doesn't, black doesn't take the bishop on b5. You know, that is a piece under attack. At some point, that piece needs to move again. That's the drawback of that. So
the thing about Nick Pert, he tends to err on the side of caution. He very, very, very rarely takes any risks in a game if he can avoid it.
And black played the cool bishop e7.
Yeah, it's a typical Pert move. But okay, I want to take a look at this. Show me why this is bad. Am I missing something?
Can I play rook fe1 check?
Okay, rook fe1 check, king f7.
King f7 is the only move, and bishop into f6, something.
Bishop f6, gf6.
And then knight d5.
Right, d5.
It looks like, you know, black is probably gaining much more by declining it. You know, it's not a sacrifice that's creating some impact straight away. It's a sacrifice where you can take it and get into this kind of mess, or ignore it, and it's anyway at some point the bishop is going to hang. You see, that's the point I'm making.
Just question. Can't you go rook c1 after the sacrifice? Rook c1, big on c5.
Yeah, there's a line in the Schliemann, if anybody knows the Schliemann, which is like this. You could also do that. Gains a tempo, doesn't it? Can I play this crazy move? Can I play that?
Knight d5.
Pardon?
Knight d5.
And then knight b5.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could also do that. Well, okay, typical Nick Pert move. He just figures that he wants to avoid any complications if he can, and plays bishop e7.
Yeah, bishop e7, and
just
then
nice
bishop
and calm.
f6. Bishop f6.
Yeah, that's necessary to keep momentum going, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's got to give a check.
check.
Wait a minute, not so fast. Bishop takes f6.
Bishop takes f6.
Bishop takes f6.
Then rook a to e1 check.
Rook a to e1. Well, as soon as I see that, I think, what is he planning with this one here?
But the problem for white is that, you know, you're sacked. If he accepts, you get the play. If you don't accept, you got that covering on that side. And, you know, in any case, the problem is black can keep on declining. At one point, you will be unable to give that, you know, take that piece. So that's what Nick Pert is playing.
Well, he's got to play king f7 now.
He played king f7.
Sorry.
Queen d2.
Right, well, white's got to keep on the bishop because his own bishop's attacked.
Then after queen d2, bishop g6.
Right, bishop d3.
Nothing played but expected.
Right, so let's count the pieces. White is a pawn down.
Yeah. And for bishop d3, I think he's going to just play rook e8. And then the last piece comes out in the open file, and then quite happy to play that endgame. You know, that was the problem with white sacrifice. You sacrifice something, but if black declined it, it did not do anything else. That was the problem with the sacrifice. Usual sacrifices, if you ignore it, it will have to do something. So that is the problem with that, you know, that sequence.
I must admit, I don't see anything for white. He's got to save his bishop. And now black can probably just exchange. Or perhaps play rook e8 first.
So he's played bishop a4 since then.
He played bishop a4.
Yeah. I think he wants to.
Well, probably he just didn't like this, and black's going to play rook e8.
Yeah.
Pawn up. I mean, is the black king really in a tight spot?
I think the queen is on d8. The original question.
Well, I've just played queen d7, so let's go back. So he played bishop a4.
Yeah, he did play bishop a4.
So I wonder whether that is not trying to get a sacrifice in on d5, just bishop b3, and then maybe sack on d5 with the knight.
Yeah.
That's the idea. But of course, rook e8 can be played.
I think black
first.
is a couple of moves away from having advantage. Clearly, it's rook e8, and then getting the king back to f8 or somewhere safe enough. He will really like his positions, isn't it?
All right. What if let me try queen to.
Problem is you don't have any pawns left to do damage to that structure. That structure is going to stand stalled.
Well, I think white perhaps intends to go f4. That's why he kept his rook on f1. So remember, f4 is also a possibility. So we've got this sack on d5, bishop b3, and then the sacrifice. But of course, black can take on at c3 at some point if he wants to sidestep that. And probably f4 is the most dangerous plan. Yeah. So if black plays rook e8, can I play f4 straight away?
I suggest, yeah.
Or should we go with bishop b3?
But you know, positionally, this position, black has no weaknesses. His last move is rook e8. You see, that's the problem with the Persian. You know, white, you're a pawn down, two bishops against bishop and knight. But also, like, you know, what is your counterplay? There's no counterplay here.
Well, if I get f4 in, I can pretend I've got counterplay. I mean, there is something.
Well, f4, and then I just play rook takes e1, or king g1, and then you play f5, bishop f7. I'm okay with that.
I must admit, it does look difficult for one.
Rook e8, knight takes d5.
That's true.
And then if I play rook takes e1.
No, rook takes e8, he's saying.
Yeah.
Probably queen takes now, knight takes d5. Now you're going into a pin there. You take on f6. I don't know about this. Queen d8. You know, instinct guides you to a correct assessment here. It looks to me as though black should be able to defend, but white's got some ideas. He can think about sacrificing on d5 at some point. He can think about f4, but I think correct defense should really see black through. We can just check this out. I think we'll find, yes, the engine thinks minus 1.49. Just rook f8. I think about it, that bishop on a4 is a bit offside, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's going to take time to get back into the game. So that is white's problem, really. White needs a couple of extra moves here to keep the game on the boil. So okay, it looks good for black, that one. I don't know exactly what exactly went wrong. I mean, if you trace the problems, it probably comes all the way back to here.
So bishop a4, Nick.
Hang on a sec. Just let me finish this. Just trying to trace the mistake. I mean, maybe bishop b5 check is just not good enough. Maybe he's just got to settle for bishop d3, and I imagine that's just about equal.
Yeah.
You just check that out. I think you'll find this is, there we are, equal, you see. So that was it. I mean, I think bishop b5 check is actually a bad move. Bishop d3 and just settle for an equal position. Bishop b5 was over ambitious. You've got some more moves?
I have one more move, which is rook f8, which is quite surprising.
Well, that's, according to the machine, the best move. I mean, I presume he just wants to walk away with the king.
Yeah, walk away with king g8, leave nothing on the e line diagonal, and you know, just play slowly now, isn't it?
2 bishops, extra pawn, solid pawns in the centre. Yeah. No rush. All right, we'll go back to the top board game, Tan versus Hawkins. A very sedate affair when we compare it with all the other games. When we left it in this position, Ravi and I both thought that white was a bit better, mainly due to his control of e4 and the possibility of c5 at some point, levering open the queen side. And have we got any more moves? 15 yes. Knight g6 was the last move.
15 knight g6, king g2.
Very solid.
Queen f8.
Yep.
Knight f to g5.
Really?
Bishop takes g5.
Knight f g5.
Knight into g5.
Hang on. Bishop takes g5. Knight takes g5. Yes.
And then he goes queen f6.
Yep. Knight into e6.
Knight e6. Knight f8.
Which
so
one?
What happens?
Which one? Which one?
Knight d to f8. So what happens if we take the c7 pawn?
It's going to go rook c8.
And then you can't really play any.
I don't know. I don't like the way Tan's played this. I really don't like it. He's made life easy for black, unless he's winning that rook, which he isn't. I was thinking of g4, but he can't do that. Knight h4 check. I mean, any exchanges here, make black's life easy or easier. You know, yeah. Surely it would have been better just to sit on the position with something like this and then build up to c5.
Yeah, I don't like.
How are you going to get through here? You never get through.
I don't like exchanging that knight on f3.
I think that's just a bad move, knight g5, yeah. Isn't it?
And
allowing black to get rid of his lousy bishop.
So black played knight into g5, queen f6.
Yeah.
In comes knight e6, and he's played knight
f8.
f8.
Yeah.
And he's offering the c7 pawn. I just want to know what's happening there.
All right, knight takes c7. Okay, so well, rook c8 looks obvious now. Okay.
So you're winning the c4 pawn, and I don't have any good square.
Well, I will probably take the c4 pawn. Why not? I can always. So well, you've got to go knight e6, haven't you?
If I had to play knight f8 and then rook f8, and then the problem is, I'm left with major pieces to block that e4 square, isn't it? So that is not ideal, isn't it? So how am I going to achieve that blockade if I've exchanged away all my minor pieces? My bishop on e3 isn't going to do anything. And I have a feeling that that knight on g6 can come into play later on.
I think White's misplayed this. He's played this far too simplistically. He's exchanged off all the pieces. We've got to probably take that knight on f8, haven't we? I can't believe that position is good for White at all. Let's just see. He puts his knight back on e6.
And he put the bishop on.
Yeah, but that's like selling your soul to the devil when you put your bishop over there.
Why to get rid of the knights? Because when we were talking about this position, it was all about knight coming into the e4, knight remaining in e4, and then he's gone and exchanged it, and you know, I mean, like.
Okay, well, let's just check this out. Queen f8. I bet the computer does not give knight fg5 as the best move. No way. Amazing, it does. That gives. This is White's best move. I just don't get that at all. So what are we missing here? Okay, it changed its mind. That I just don't get that at all.
So I think he's got knight f8 and challenging that knight on e6. And if he can't take on c7, then he's thinking now.
So he should go knight e4. He shouldn't play knight e6 apparently.
Yeah.
Okay, well, fair enough. Knight df8. Any more moves?
No. We got a few more moves in the Chris Ward ends game.
I'm just trying to work out what Tan is trying to play for here. It's pretty clear to me. If he goes knight takes f8, rook a takes f8, Black not only has no problem, he's got a dangerous attack.
Yeah.
Because you could easily follow up with h5 and add a new unit to the attack.
Yeah.
So that could be very dangerous, couldn't it? h5, h4, and the white king could really start to feel pressure.
I mean, in an attacking position, I prefer the knight to the bishop because the knight can reroute to f5, knight can reroute to squares where you need to attack, and the fact that white's rooks are, can't get into any good proper counterplay, that's the main problem.
Well, okay, so I don't know what Tan's going to play. I don't think he's better anymore, to be absolutely honest. So M's ward, we've got more moves. All right, well, bishop g5 was the last move we saw, and I thought Chris could play knight e4. Wait a minute, knight b7, not so fast. Okay, all right.
And then knight d2.
Yeah, knight bd2, yes.
Knight bd2, h6.
h6.
Bishop takes f6, bishop takes f6.
Yeah.
And now e4.
Yes.
And black plays b4.
Yep.
And white plays rook f1. So that is developing into a good struggle. And now Ward played a4.
Right. Well, the first thing to notice is that black isn't really threatening anything on the queen side yet, is he?
I think he's just opened the line for the bishop on a6 and then come to b5.
Yeah, bishop
so
a6, bishop b.
And white shouldn't play e5 because that's too committed.
Okay, let's turn the ball around here. Okay, so it's firstly a very difficult position to evaluate. I mean, to me, it looks something like a King's Indian attack in the French. So h4 is the sort of move White might be thinking about.
Yeah, but you've got to keep the tension in the center, isn't it? You can't play e5, you can't. And while black is preparing to get the bishop out, that's his last part of his jigsaw. That, he gets his bishop out, he's okay.
Well, let me try another idea then. Knight f1, bishop a6, knight e3. I mean, to me, with the bishop on f6, this makes sense. Put the knight on g4 and then put a knight on e5, something like that. That's what I think White should do.
Yeah. But look, I mean, both sides have some good plays. It's leveling up to a good fight.
I prefer White. I think the fact there is some tension in the middle, that he hasn't played e5, favours White. I don't see what Black's doing here. It looks impressive, but what actually is he doing with his bishop and his pawns? When I put my knight on g4, I don't exactly see how you're going to equalise.
Okay. So that's leveling up, and then we have this crazy game of David Howell and Williams. We have a few more moves there.
Any more moves in this?
No, that's it.
So a4 was the last move?
Yeah.
Right, well, probably expect knight f1. And then actually black has to prove some sort of equality here. How is he equal? I think white's got the better chances personally. All right, well that's interesting. It could be interesting. It could be interesting. Let's put it that way. Right, Howell Williams is certainly interesting. So
Queen E2 was played.
yes.
Bishop B7.
Yes.
F3.
Okay.
Gf3, Gf3.
Yes.
And it stands there.
Right. So not much. Well, black's got to prove it. Black's got to prove something, hasn't he? You know, because white is now getting ready to get his minor pieces out. I would have thought bishop b2 is the first move on the agenda, and then knight c3 perhaps, or knight a3 to c4.
Black plays queen c6.
If he goes queen c6, we have to play rook f1.
Then you got bishop a6.
Bishop a6, then we have to go d3, and you've still got to get in. I mean, I'm exchanging a pawn up. You know, that extra pawn actually makes a difference here because it's a screen in front of white's king. So now I imagine I could perhaps play to put my knight on e4. That would be a good place for the knight, wouldn't it? Oops, not that far. Something like that. You can't help but feel with correct defence white should be able to hold this. But for the next 3 or 4 moves, black is going to have a serious initiative. And one thing black could think about perhaps is manoeuvring a knight to f4. So how would this move be? I don't know. It can't be that easy. It can't be. You know, the computer will show you some evaluation of +1, and we all know that. You know, when we're facing this sort of stuff over the board, it's never that easy. So what if the computer shows that? You know, it's not that easy because white hasn't got any pieces out. So until he gets his pieces out, for instance, could Williams just develop his bishop? I don't know. Just play this, bring the rook into the centre. And that's more like Simon play. You know, just get all your pieces in, then start the attack. Is that so easy for white?
But it's that placing of pieces in the queen side, isn't it? I mean, how is going to get the queen side pieces, and how is that going to impact the thing? You know, that's the crucial part of it.
Any more moves? That's it. Right. Okay. So let's carry on. Any more moves in Bachelor versus Pert?
Just a couple more moves.
All right.
So after rook f8,
Yep.
f4,
F4, okay.
then rook g8.
King g8, surely. King g8?
After king g8, king h1.
Well, that doesn't change
it
things.
Looks, you know, tricky, isn't it?
Well, I think it looks slightly better for black than it did before, to be absolutely honest with you. That king h1 move, okay. Not exactly sure what that does. Takes away some tactics, maybe. But that's about it. I mean, what's wrong with black's position now? Look, normal position with black a pawn up. White hasn't really got any pawn levers to open up black's pawn structure. This pawn structure here is as solid as a rock.
Yeah.
So I imagine that you know, the normal plan for black would just be to challenge on the e file, just develop his queen, then put a rook to e8, something like that. That's a general idea. Because white's got to prove it. What is white doing? What's the plan here?
It's all spicing up nicely, isn't it?
I mean, if I got a free move here, let's say queen a5, is that not? That's a free move, isn't it? Because I'm threatening bishop takes knight. That's an easy way to get the rook to the e file, isn't it? Well, white's got to defend himself against bishop takes c3. So I'm going to move. Shall I move the bishop somewhere? And now, can I just do this? Unless I'm missing some cheapo with knight takes d5. I don't want to be suddenly crushed by some horrible, disgraceful cheapo. But I think it's all right. I mean, if I don't want to be crushed by a cheapo, I just take this knight off and then bring the rook to e8. Ah, well, of course, white can play c4. I don't know. White is a pawn down, right? And he's struggling. That's all we can say. Right, so let's go through the games one by one, and then we'll have the afternoon break. So Tan versus Hawkins. I think we both feel that Tan has misplayed this by allowing exchanges of pieces. Although, having said that, although I didn't like that move, knight fg5, the computer seemed to like it, and it felt that actually white should not go knight e6 now. Instead, he should play knight to e4.
So it's like qualitatively you're exchanging the wrong set of pieces in a position, isn't it?
So knight e6 has just allowed black knight df8, and now are there any more moves?
Knight f8, and then knight c7.
Okay.
Rook c8.
Yeah.
Knight e6.
Yeah. And now
knight e6.
Yeah.
d6. Queen e6.
Yeah. b3.
b3.
Yeah.
Then e4.
And e4 is trying to get his knight in the game now, isn't it? That knight is headed for e5 and then into juicy squares on d3 or e3.
Yeah.
So again, this is not looking that great. So can we play, or should we play, bishop d4? See, that bishop on e3 is really like holding white's position together. I really don't want to move it.
Knight reaches either f3 or d3.
I can't allow that knight to get in, so let's play bishop d4 now. All right. That leaves the black attack looking more dangerous than before. So can I set up some winning attack here with rook f3? Just jam you in. Knight h4 check is coming. This could be very nasty.
I think it's all poised quite evenly, you know. I mean,
you think so? I think black's better.
Black's better, but you know, I mean, it still has to get.
Well, I don't. What do you do in this position?
Offer to draw.
No thanks.
So there's one more move, which is queen d4. He didn't play bishop d4.
He played queen to d4. I think probably because of this.
And black is thinking now.
So queen to d4 also stops knight e5. Well, okay, so have we got some crazy draw here with knight h4? It's probably what he's thinking about.
Yeah, I think still play on e5.
So knight h4, what happens if I take pawn h4?
Well, I could get a draw with rook g5 check. Now that was the idea, but I don't need to take that draw, do I?
Okay.
You know, something stupid like this, but there's no earthly reason why we should take that draw. Is that forced even? Let's see, check. What if he takes it? What, black's got to make a draw, so he goes to the corner. I imagine queen here, and that's drawn again because he's got to take the rook. Okay, well that's that's an immediate example of how the attack can suddenly appear out of nowhere. So I imagine black can do better than that. I mean, the obvious move here is obviously rook cf8, isn't it? So let's do that. Now then, just feel rook h5 is also a move, isn't it? Rook h5, but maybe that is the best of all. Thinking about it. What does he do about that? That piece will be sacked immediately. What is actually that is pretty strong.
Yeah, he's thinking, I mean, there are various possibilities what he can do, but it definitely.
This looks crushing. What does he do about that?
He's thinking about various possibilities. Because.
Is there any defense there?
Then he played rook h5.
You played it? I don't see a defense. Because if you go rook h1, queen g4, queen d1, I've got knight h4 check. Game over. Let's see this here.
Quite a few tactics there, and I think we've got a lot of problems there.
Check first or what? Or that move? Check king here. Just need a good move.
Yeah.
No, I think I prefer queen g4.
Now I prefer queen h3 check first, make the king block in, and then get the queen to g4.
But then I haven't got knight h4 check. I wanted to get the knight in. That was the point of playing it first. But you might have h3. Oh no, queen f3 check. I just want to get my knight in. If I get my knight in, I think you could be toast here.
So white played rook h1 and Hawkins this thing.
He did that. He's got to. He's got to play rook h1.
Yeah.
But that, of course, is a lousy move, isn't it? You don't never want to play such a move in your games, you know. All right. Well, how do we put him away? That's the thing. Okay, I want that knight in. I want that knight in above everything else. So let me play queen g4. You go. What do you do?
Knight h4 check before that, because queen h3 isn't it.
How do you mean?
Oh my god, I'll see you knight h4 check that.
Yes, because the problem, of course, now is that knight e5 again becomes a candidate move because I've moved the queen and I protect my pawn. So now I'm threatening to chuck the kitchen sink in against your king. This game has turned completely, hasn't it? I mean, white did not play this phase of the game. He's trying to play with his structure all the time, you know, and ignoring the tactics. Okay, I think black is winning this, just a feeling, but it's just a question of how. The variation I was looking at was here, 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 and I didn't think he could survive this. And the more I look at it, the more I think that's about right. What does he do? King's, where are we going to put the king? Here? Maybe he can survive.
Andrew, you play queen h3 check.
Now? Or beforehand?
Rook h1.
Rook h1. Which move? Queen h3 check. Yeah, okay, fine. King g1. Knight e5. I've got to take the pawn. And now rook f8. Well, that makes a lot of sense because that gets all the pieces into the attack, doesn't it? Now, white, I presume, has got to play f4. And now I go in with some winning combination, which I haven't seen yet.
It's quite dangerous, isn't it?
It's dangerous, all right. Let's see what the machine gives. This is the sort of position where they're... Ooh, it doesn't see any direct attack. B5.
Play completely on the other side, you know.
If he plays B5, I'll be amazed. I'll be gobsmacked if he manages to find B5 in this position. Yeah, but, you know, you look at this position, you think, okay, there must be some way to pull him away then, but maybe not. What do I think Hawkins is going to do? I think if he can't see a direct win, he'll play rook f8. That would be that's a human move to me. Just get the last unit into the attack, and you know I can't see anything yet. But if I get all the pieces there, something will turn up. I mean, if he plays b5, then I will be incredulous. Maybe it's the best move. Any more moves?
After rook h1, nothing.
Nothing. Okay.
We go to Ward now.
All right, let's go to Chris Ward versus John Ems.
And
Yep.
you are in move number
13. We're just waiting for White's 14th.
Look at E1.
Yeah. I'm waiting for
A4.
Yes.
Knight F1.
Okay, I got it right. There you go.
Bishop A6.
Yep.
ED5.
Oh, he took the pawn. Wow, I didn't expect that.
And I think the problem is you have to take ED5. And then he's operating on the F5 square. And what is thinking now?
So taking with the C pawn's bad, is it?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, you've given him a fast pawn. I mean, he could play with it. So that's why he's thinking. He's got an important decision to make there, isn't it? I mean,
so if he takes with the E pawn, you're going to play knight E3.
Yeah.
And then the knight has very good perspectives.
I mean, the one thing I can see is that if CD5, if black can reload the knight to B8 and C6, you're okay. But the only problem comes is when white plays knight F5.
So C takes D5.
Yeah.
Knight E3.
Knight B8.
Knight B8, yeah.
He could be thinking that, that's the thing.
Well, okay, knight G4, knight C6, queen D2.
Yeah.
What is kind of evident, the bishop on A6 looks like a great piece, but actually does nothing whatsoever. It doesn't contribute anything to the position. And I mean, if White is allowed to play knight E5, get this blockader out of the way, then he's seriously better because he can start playing on the king side. So I mean, it's not out of the question for White to put both knights in on E5. Everything comes off, double the rooks up on the E file, H4, G4, get a kingside attack with this bishop on A6, looking on, and Black can't do anything because this monster pawn. So that could easily happen. Strategically, it makes a lot of sense for White to do that. And then he's making this bishop look like a non-piece.
We have just one more move in Howell Williams, which is knight D5.
Is that the actual position? No, it's not the position.
That's the analysis.
He takes D5. That is the position. Right.
And then if you go to Howell against Williams, he's got one more move, which is he played knight D5. And now Howell is thinking, and actually...
Oh, he did play knight D5.
He didn't play knight D5. And then now it's a question of Howell having that extra time, with 56 minutes against 24 minutes of Simon Williams.
I don't feel too threatened by that move. Maybe I should be, but I'm not feeling too uncomfortable.
Okay, that's the thing. It's quite nicely poised. And then we have a couple more moves in the Nick Burt game.
Right.
Which, what happened was you had...
King H1 was the last one.
King H1 was the last move.
I expected Queen A5. But...
Queen B6 was played. Okay. And now White took his bishop, which is doing probably not much, and brought it to D1. And now that's finally placed. 24 minutes left for
D1.
White. Nick Burt having 56 minutes on the clock. It's all sizing up quite nicely.
Bishop D1. Another strange move. I mean, is he coming out to G4 and into E6? That's probably the idea.
Yes.
All right, well, that hasn't changed. I mean, I still think Black is a lot better. Okay, Rook A, E8, just right off the top of my head. Change some pieces. Right, so we're coming up to the afternoon break. Let's summarise. Okay, Hawkins, any more move in Hawkins' game before you leave the premises?
Hawkins' game.
Rook H1 was the last move. If Hawkins plays B5, on a Stewart's inquiry.
No, nothing. So,
okay.
I was going to suggest that before. I would suggest B5.
no moves.
Eh?
No moves in Hawkins' game.
Okay, so B5 might be best.
Yeah.
Ems Ward.
No more moves.
Looks as though White's a bit better though.
And knight D5, no more moves in Howell against Williams.
And Bachelor Per is probably easiest game to get a handle on. Why he's
There's
struggling.
one more move. He's just played Queen D4 going into the end game.
Yeah, typical Nick Pert. Why take a risk, you know? So, our time for the afternoon break. We'll be back at 5:15, and we'll go on to a finish. So that's about it. If you're watching online, we'll see you in 25 minutes, and the same for our studio audience here. Thanks very much.
Stupid question, but is it recorded? Because it's on like 0.
We are recording it live on YouTube. Yes.
So your dubs are total. I'm really sorry, guys. I'm going to have to ask you to. Right,
People sitting here, or we can throw it out.
Got to look up. Got to look up, yeah. Have to look up.
Would you like to take coffee, please? Latte. Nothing else, yeah? If you're looking, I'll leave my phone.
I'm looking up here.
You need to break at 4:00.
Right, well, as I'm actually sitting here, I'm going to recommence the broadcast for the very few people who have come into the hall 5 minutes early, and for anybody out there watching on the internet. We'll just have a recap of the positions as they stand. Now, here is the board 1 game between Justin Tan and Jonathan Hawkins, which we evaluated as preferable for black. Black's got a big attack, but on the other hand, there doesn't seem to be an immediate win. Funny enough, looking at this position with deep Fritz, the computer felt that b5 was black's best move. Very hard for a human being to play that move because obviously your attention is drawn towards the white king. Automatically, you really want to put the boot in on that king. All the pieces come over. You really want to finish white off. So to play b5 would require Hawkins to show great flexibility of thought. And I presume the main point behind that move is to get this rook on c8 into the game as quickly as possible, and number 2, to try and break the bind on the d6 pawn. So for instance, if white were to take that pawn, then we could recapture and get d5 in at some point, which would hopefully add to black's positional trumps. Once he manages to protect that pawn on e4, of course, he frees up his queen. Now, I happened to go into the tournament hall during the very short break, and Hawkins didn't play b5. He played queen to h3 check, a very natural move, which forces white to block in his own rook, and then black played rook e8. So we can say that this is a very human-like response to this position. Black stations all his pieces ready for the attack, and he hopes that something's going to turn up. And I presume the plan is something like now queen to g4 and then knight to e5, something like that. I don't know, maybe b5 could also come into the frame. Now, the first question, I think this is the position which I saw on the board. The first question I was thinking about, what happens if queen takes d6 in this position? I mean, I presume there's something very strong here, but I couldn't quite see what it was, given that knight e5 is answered by queen d5 check. A curious switchback, which I think allows white to take the e4 pawn on the next move. So I wonder what he's got in mind against that. I guess he could play queen g4. And now the idea is knight e5, I guess, with knight f3 check coming in. I don't know, it's one of those positions, it looks very promising for black. Because after all, white's rook is incarcerated on h1. Black's pieces are fully mobile. And white seems to be struggling. Well, it's white's move, luckily. I was going to take that pawn. And now knight h4, maybe that is the idea. But then I can always block with a queen on g3, can I not? Take it off. Jack Rudd's just come in the room, by the way. He's always a fountain of tactical ideas.
So he did play queen d6. And
he played queen takes d6.
Hawkins went king h8.
King h8, right, okay. So that is definitely threatening knight e5.
And then now bishop d4.
Yep.
And just looking at this position, you know, I mean, aesthetically, I can see that the major problem white has, how is he going to untangle the king on g1 and the rook on h1? So literally, in terms of, not numerically, but literally, he's like a rook down. So it's going to be a question of how black is going to make use of this extra material. So,
what about rook g5?
I must admit, I was thinking about the move e3.
I'm trying to make a nice h4, so rook g5.
I'm just wondering whether I need that rook. What if I play e3? What do you do actually?
E3,
like with the bishop
F3.
now, I get my knight to e5.
What e3, fe3, sorry?
Yeah, fe3, then I was just going to play positionally and go probably rook f8.
Rook g5.
With the idea of rook f5.
He's taken Jack's suggestion and played rook g5.
Cool, that's dangerous. That's a dangerous thing to do, isn't it?
Knight h4.
Hang on, so he played rook g5.
The threat is knight h4. And if queen d7, what about bishop g7 check? Oh, he's got rook e7. So if he plays queen c7.
That's two pieces you've given away on the last two suggestions.
So queen c7, I think he's got to go queen c7 to force.
Queen c7, a very deep move.
Yeah.
Knight h4.
Okay.
Like to resign now?
Yes, sir.
That's good. That's what I like
so
to hear.
Rook g5 threatening knight h4. How do I stop knight h4?
Prayer. Doesn't appear easy at first sight, I have to say. But I mean, it's not really surprising with this rook locked in. You know, probably white would love to play that.
Okay. What happens if I play rook e1 now? Rook e1 now.
Rook e1. Well, how about knight h4?
Or queen f4.
Queen g2.
Wow.
I've got a few mates here. You have to pay me a lot of money not to play.
No, the only cheaper I saw was knight f3 check is rook queen and f3. So that knight h4 and queen g2 is made. So how is he going to stop knight h4?
So king h8, has that blown Tan's mind? Let's have a look here. No, it's suddenly so rookie. He played, let's go back, this is the break, right? B5 was being suggested, I said. Queen H3 check, and suddenly the evaluation changes dramatically. So maybe that was the best move, just incarcerating the rook. And then rook E8. Queen takes D6, King H8. Hawkins is playing this like deep Fritz 13. Wow.
It's all logical, isn't it? I mean, if you can't stop knight h4 now.
Rook G5 minus 6.66, that's even worse. The evaluation's going off the scale move by move. It's headed downhill for white in a big way. It was only 0.9 a minute ago, now it's 9.6. So he just can't stop knight h4. Resignation imminent, yeah. Well, I'm sure when Tan looks back at this game, he will rue his decision to, whatever the computer says, allow Black to exchange off that lousy bishop. You know, White's got a nice edge here, he's controlling the game, he's got more space. Black's got some problems getting his pieces into the game, then he plays this. Okay, the computer gives knight e4 here, but nevertheless, I think most really strong players would just play rook c1 here, like Ravi said, or just put the knight on d2 and just sit on the position.
You know, however, tactically it can be strong and pick up variation. When it comes to the positional moves, you know, I mean, the computers are still far away. What was that program that did play some positional chess? Nimzo. It's discontinued, isn't it? Anyone heard about the Nimzo? Computer program Nimzo.
Yeah, it played far too positionally, so everybody stopped buying it. Couldn't find mates in one, but it could grind you down in 200 moves. Well, this is game over, is it? That's it. Knight h4 is a winning threat. Has he made a move yet?
No.
That's it? No.
So if we can go to M squad.
So actually, Hawkins is going to have 4 out of 4, isn't he?
Yeah. And he's going to play Grandmaster with White. If that has to make a difference, isn't it?
So M's Ward. Last move, E takes D5. I mean, and Ward played Bishop takes F1, didn't he?
E takes D5. Ward played Bishop F1.
So just
didn't like that.
Back. I don't like E takes D5 in that case. Why don't I just go with Knight E3? That was what I thought he should do. Just to leave that bishop, you know, looking at thin air. If Black takes on E4, so what? Looks great for White. And if he doesn't, then we take on D5 and keep an extra piece, which is strategically what White wants. So Bishop F1, allowing that move is probably, I think, an imprecision by him, isn't it? So he played Bishop takes F1, yes?
Yeah, Bishop takes F1, Bishop takes F1, and CD5.
Right, so this is the position, and White must be a bit better. I mean, one way you could play this is to go Bishop B5, isn't it?
So I mean that Bishop F1, CD5, Bishop to B5.
Was that played?
Yeah.
We just lop off the knight.
A3.
Take the knight.
B3, knight B8.
Didn't take the knight.
Didn't take the knight. And I think that is it like a Alekhine difference where White has this pawn on C5, but in this position it's much more than that, isn't it? I mean, like,
it's a funny position.
And knight E5 played now. Knight E5.
Was that played?
Yeah. And I don't know why he's gone to this rook endgame.
This is kind of keeping the draw in hand, this move, isn't it? It's a mature decision. Because the bishop on BA5 is dominating the knight. It's like Ems is playing with the draw in hand, isn't he, when he plays that? Because probably all the minor pieces are going to be exchanged, and then he'll reach a position that Black can never win with this pawn throttling him. So, Black's got to take that, right?
Yeah, Black, I think, should take the knight, otherwise it's quite dangerous. There's no more moves.
No more moves. I think he's got to take that knight. Yeah. And what else can he do?
Well, we got a few more developments in Howell.
Let's just take this on a little bit, just see how it might go. So bishop takes e5, rook takes e5.
Yeah. I mean, if you played queen c7,
Queen A5 I was thinking about.
Queen
Queen
A5.
C7 looks a bit better. Now rook A1.
And then if I kick that, oh, I can't. Rook A5?
A5. I was just going to go bishop A4, I think. Weird move, but as soon as that knight moves, I'm going to take it. And now F4, F5. I mean, it's just a lovely position for white, isn't it? You know, black could be easily getting done over here. If the knight comes out, I'm just going to... Wow! You really trust that? I mean, really, this is just desperation, isn't it? It's desperation, that. Oh, you can do it, but if you have to do it, I mean, he wouldn't want to do that, would he? F4, F5 still a threat. Okay, so probably none of this is going to happen.
Leading to a draw, isn't it? I mean, if you played bishop E5, rook E5, queen C7, or queen A5, and then you had to play bishop A4, and then, you know, black has to get the knight to C6. There's no other move there.
Perhaps I could improve that by playing queen to E2, couldn't I? Anyway, let's crack on. Any more moves? Was that it?
Queen A5.
He played queen A5.
And I think now...
He did not take the knight.
No, he didn't take that. He's waiting so that if you move the bishop out of it, then he can do that. So if you play bishop A4 now...
I quite like queen to D3, actually, to keep the knight in the box. Because if you think about it, if black takes on E5, rook takes, double up, F4, F5, what can stop that? And I just want that knight off the board. Go to an endgame, no problem for the endgame. Better for white. Just looks very unpleasant there for black. All right, let's carry on with Howell Williams, because that really was the game here. Knight to D5 was the last move.
A few more moves in that.
Yeah. Let's not forget white's exchange and a pawn up. Right, so this
1695.
Yep.
Bishop to B2.
Bishop B2, that allows the black knight in. What is he going to put his queen? E3 looks the favourite.
Knight F4, Queen E3.
Played Queen E3, okay.
Knight G2.
Knight G2, Queen F2.
Queen F2, Knight H4.
Okay.
Rook F1, passive defense.
Alright.
Bishop E7 played.
Alright.
Queen G3, exchanging the queens. H into G3, and then Knight F5. And I
Knight F5?
Yeah.
He didn't take on F3 because of the pin, right?
He didn't take on the F3.
King E2 just wins there, doesn't it? Let's just see that. Knight F3, King E2.
Yeah.
Right, fair enough. So Knight F5.
G4. Knight G3 in.
Out.
And I think if Rook F2, something like C4 and Bishop C5 would
surely Knight H1 it will be played after Rook F2 without too much hesitation.
So is this the time that he has to play Rook F2 and then Knight H1, King E2 and give that exchange? No, so that could end in a draw, isn't it? It's just an exchange out, isn't it?
It's an extraordinary game.
So what about Bishop F3 check? If he plays Rook G5.
Well, what are you playing here? Knight's come into G3.
So if white has to play for the win, he's got to play Rook G1. Then Bishop F3 check, King E1.
Bishop H4.
Yeah, it's quite dangerous, isn't it? No, King F2.
Knight E2 check. What's going on there?
King F3. Right?
Knight takes G1.
King G. So yeah, you get it. So he's thinking. Howell is thinking.
I tell you what, if this game ends in some sort of draw by repetition, Rook F2, Knight H1, Rook F1, Knight G3, Howell is not going to be pleased, is he?
Yeah, no.
He's going to be frothing at the mouth, I think, after this encounter. Pardon? Oh, there hasn't been too much care exhibited in this game with regards to rooks. If you see the earlier play. Okay, how are we going to do this? King E2, chop it off. Let's hit while we can. I mean, black's got some play, hasn't he? Two bishops. You know, white is not out of the question. White could be losing this, which would be even more vexing. Quite extraordinarily, I think this game could end in a draw. Knight H1. I mean, it's a fitting finish, isn't it? Knight comes to H1 and the players agree a draw. It's totally bizarre all the way through. Is that really? Well, it certainly looks like that. Let's check this variation again, an even more crazy line. So he goes there, we give a check, must come here, we plonk this in here. Then he goes here, there we go, check, he takes that, we take the knight on G1 this time, not H1. It's even more bizarre, isn't it?
So can you play in this position as King C1, Rook G1, Bishop F3, King C1? Oh, that's the fourth.
Knight E2. Is there any book there on elementary tactics, Ravi? Perhaps you'd brush up on that.
No, it's just, you know, it's the nicotine, coffee's got it, so
it's a very
show some simple points. Okay, so it looks like, you know, could end in a draw.
So what's the position? Knight G3, that's it, is it?
Knight G3.
Right, okay, so extraordinary.
Is it of any consequence if I play Rook F2, Knight H1,
yeah,
and then I put the Rook on a different square, allowing Bishop F3 check?
Okay, find the square, that's the challenge. Rook H2.
Yeah.
Okay, and not play Bishop D6.
Ooh.
Then Rook H.
I might defend myself. Ooh, that knight is displaying some enviable activity.
Rook H5, Bishop F3. Okay, but it's just that. Can I?
Well, he's got a few pieces watching the action.
So can I play Rook H5? No, Rook H5 before.
When? Now?
You played Bishop D6.
Yeah.
I want to play Rook H5.
Rook H5, the man says. Well, oh God, I don't want to play G6. That'd be another rook down the drain. Chucked away enough rooks. Let's take some pawns.
Bishop F3, King C1. And I think, am I winning here?
C1.
No, you play Knight G3.
Quite a few pieces on the queen side, it has to be said. Come on, we ought to finish you off now.
Knight G3.
How can we finish him off?
Problem.
You're not winning this, are you? White's losing this. It's a rook against three minor pieces as far as I can see, and you're not going to win that battle.
The funny thing is, if Rook H3, Knight E2 check, King D1, it's Knight G1.
Knight check again. That knight is incredible. I've never seen it like that, causing so much havoc on right at the other end of the board, you know. Incredible game.
Yeah. And also I think that the one thing is, it went to H1, it's going to come back to G1 if you allow him. And, you know, those two squares rarely used by a knight. So
it's extraordinary. It's an extraordinary position, really, when you think about it.
Yeah.
White's got all these pieces on the queen side, doing nothing whatsoever. That bishop on B2 is not playing any role, is it? All right. One question I have here: can I play Bishop E5? You just take the rook, don't you? Take the rook, take the pawn. He takes this. Well, it's better for white than the other line. You know, I might make a draw here. Although even this position is very difficult to call. You've got to favour black, I mean, with his developments. But nevertheless, white might have a chance. No, I think this could end in a draw, Ravi. Much to Howell's displeasure. Okay. We'll check this on the machine. No, better for white, extraordinarily. Knight H1, Rook H2, Bishop D6, the evaluation's coming down. And now Rook H4. Even Rook H5 is better for white, according to this. Difficult to believe. Rook H5, take on F3 check, and then King E1. Just a cold-blooded move coming towards the knight. And if Knight G3, Rook G5. It's definitely one of the weirdest games I think I've ever seen, this one.
I think just I've seen a game of Mark Hebden, bounced back brilliantly with a fantastic win with the trump trustee in about 28 moves. He just played very nice chess, very typical to how Ward beat him.
Do you want to see this game?
Yeah.
Right, I think we can manage that somehow. All we have to do is to go back to the start of one of these games, if Howell and Williams will forgive me. Right, and now, what colour's Hebden?
Hebden is white.
Right, cool. Who's his partner?
Tim Kett.
Okay, from Wales. So, D4.
D4 and F6.
Yeah. This is Hebden Kett very quickly.
Bishop G5, C5.
Yes.
D5.
Yes.
Knight E4.
Yes.
Bishop F4.
Yes.
Queen B6.
Okay, Knight D2.
Knight D2.
Yeah.
Knight takes B2. Bishop takes B2.
I think you're supposed to take on B2 here, aren't you?
Yeah. Queen B2.
He took on D2 first.
Take on D2 first and then he took
I think
on.
that's imprecise. All right.
That's the Chandler game, isn't it? Where he takes and then he plays Queen B4 check and Queen E4.
Yeah. And so, go on then. Bishop takes D2, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then now in comes E4.
Queen takes B2.
E4.
E4, yeah, okay.
G6.
Yeah.
Rook B1.
Yeah.
Queen E5.
Okay.
Bishop D3.
Yeah.
Bishop G7.
I think this looks like the play of a person who was so fed up about yesterday's performance.
Yeah.
He's come out and he's said, right, I'm going to sacrifice something. Go after this guy.
So F4.
So, yeah.
Queen C7.
And he's certainly achieving his object.
And C4. Typical pawn structure which Ward had against him. He must have been, he must have felt that, so good today, having got that point. Black plays pawn D6.
Yeah, Knight F3.
Knight H3 to kill the bishop D4. Black castle. Knight F3.
Yeah.
Black plays E6.
Okay.
White castles.
Yeah.
ED5, ED5.
So he's thinking about F5 now.
Yeah. Knight D7.
But he's asking for Queen E1 to H4.
Yeah. And
That's
then
also
he goes F5. F5 straight away.
Well, it's not really any big deal. That is very thematic here.
Knight E5 played.
Yeah.
Knight takes E5. Bishop or D takes E5.
D takes.
Yeah. What about bishop takes E5? Is it F6 that the bishop is going to suffer outside the chain? Is it? Or is it bishop H6, rook E8, F6, then put the bishop goes to G7 and then Queen B2, Queen.
Well, I mean, first of all, how is he going to defend against F6? Looks terribly lousy for black. This.
Okay, so he took by the pawn.
You're satisfied with that?
I'm not happy, but I'm not happy with, he's like very typically like how Ward got a big position and just pushed Hebden out court.
He took with the pawn.
Took with the pawn, and today Hebden has had his revenge with very similar structure, and then in comes F6.
Mm-hmm.
Bishop H8.
Yes, always best.
And then Bishop H6 chasing the rook. Only more rook E8.
Rook is chased.
And then now the blockade more Bishop E4. Powerful chess here. It just shows, that, he's had a tremendous understanding in this.
I often find you look like a great player when the opponent's got a piece like that. He's going to look like Tal at his best.
So, in comes Queen D6, defending the pawn on F6.
Queen F3.
Queen D6, and then now Hebden says, I'm not interested. H4, carry on.
He let him take the pawn?
Yeah.
Great. Wow.
Caveman style attack. B5.
Why did he take that pawn? Oh, Queen F3. How horrible.
B5, last minute thing.
H5,
onwards and upwards.
Yeah.
B takes C4.
Yeah.
But can I make a point here that, all what black has done, the pawn on D5 and the pawn on F6 is like cutting a wedge into his position, and he can't do anything. And
right, spot the finish. Who can see the finish?
H takes G6.
Hang on.
H takes G6.
Young man, what do you say? You take twice on G6 and push F7. Did he do that?
Take on G6.
If he did that, you get a prize.
H into G6, and then he took bishop into G6, and black played bishop into F6. Now, what did Hebden play?
I can imagine there must be numerous wins.
That boy who just came in, Shafshar, is it?
Yes.
Shafshar.
Go on. Then, can you spot the win?
spot the win.
Well, I think there might be something better than that. I mean, the thing is, does White even need to indulge in any sort of pyrotechnical finish? I mean, why can't he just move his bishop out of the way and say, well, what's your next move?
Yeah.
Well, why can't he just go bishop e4? I don't know.
He did play queen h5.
He did.
You want to give a prize?
I'm giving that lad a prize. Yes,
Right.
of course.
Okay,
I
give
am.
him a round of applause.
Okay, give him a round of applause.
Come on, son.
Give him that chess highlights of the 21st,
Chess
20th
highlights
century.
of the 20th century, or Richard Miller, which one you want?
Take that one, yeah.
Thank you.
It's quite right, you deserved it. Well done. Right, okay. In case you think these are just little kids coming up, you know, this guy's been playing for England for years, so you know, don't sort of play him and think he's just going to crumble. He's a very strong player.
Yeah.
So Queen h5, all right. He didn't need to do that though, did he? He could. Why couldn't he just play this? He probably wanted to wipe Ket out. Is that correct? So Queen h5. Okay, come on then.
I want to see the mate after fg6.
You want to see the mate?
Is it straight
Is
away?
this a challenge?
No. I agree. I give up. So he played queen e7. And now can you guys spot the finish, please?
Queen e7. Yes, sir.
Bishop f8.
F8? No.
Bishop f8 doesn't quite work. You need
Come on, we want somebody else entering these competitions, not the usual. No, this guy's got a library this week. Somebody else, please. No, that's his brother. Come on, somebody else. Jack Rudd wants a book. Okay, Jack, go on then.
Bishop h7 check.
Yes, that must be the
Bishop
move.
h7 check, king h8.
Ooh,
F8.
Bishop takes.
illegal.
Illegal.
Was that played? That's it, right? Bishop f8.
Bishop h7 check, king, bishop f8. He didn't play that. He played bishop h7 check,
Yeah,
king h8, and he just pulled bishop e4.
that must
So
be.
what's wrong with bishop f8?
Nothing. That's quite aesthetic, isn't it? Oh, come on, let's try that. That's probably what's wrong with it. Ignore it. Ignore everything. Ah, this.
No.
That's it.
Queen
That's-
f8 not so.
All right. Well, bishop g4. Okay. Well, let's pull it all the way back then. Come on. Let's not hang around. You can't attack me there. I've been watching Williams against Howell. So that's the time. Eh? Oh, bishop h4. The crowd are loving it. Okay, then. Love that. What's happening now? I'm still mate. Fun? Yes, we like it now. Mind you, I was lucky. I didn't see any of that. I didn't see rook f6. So I was just like panic when he went rook takes f8. Okay, so I think Hebden's way was much better, don't you?
So I just played bishop e4.
Yeah. Queen h5, queen e7, check here, and then just bishop e4. Yeah. Okay.
King got out of check by king g8. And then he played bishop g5. Very elegant.
So bishop g5.
Yeah, just elegant, simple, elegant, you know. But I think I get an impression of this question that even if you said pass, when bishop f6, black is probably lost. Can black make a move and still survive? Can I give him 2 passes?
I doubt it.
No.
All right. Okay. So one-sided game, but very nice. All right. So now let's go back to Howell versus Williams. Then, what has actually transpired? Have we got this bizarre variation where?
No more moves after knight g3.
Okay. Well, he's contemplating whether this game is going to end in a draw.
Okay, we can finish in board 1 if you are interested in that.
I'm interested, but just let's review this one more time. Knight h1, and now if White wants to play for a win, he's got to risk rook h2.
Yeah, and then bishop f3 check.
And then
or
bishop
even
f3
d6
check.
straight away. Bishop d6 straight
Well,
away.
either. I think it's going to come to the same because White's got to play this
Bishop
bizarre
f3,
move.
king e1.
King e1.
And then bishop
d6.
and then rook h3.
Rook h, yes, it's bizarre stuff. Well, that lets the rook out of jail, doesn't it? I don't know, that's a very strange position, isn't it? I mean, it's not like anything normal. It's just, no wonder he's taking time. I think most human beings would just bottle out with a draw here, you know, just go knight h1, rook f1 and just say, I couldn't work it out. Sorry?
Black doesn't have to be. Black could try to win h5 instead of knight h1.
Here.
I was thinking move before.
Or even now, maybe.
Yeah.
Although, we wouldn't necessarily want our rook on it. Yeah. Go h5 now. It's possible. Very strange indeed. Okay, result on board 1, Tan Hawkins and black 1, correct?
Yeah, black 1.
Did he resign this position?
No.
Okay. Knight h4 is the threat, which appears difficult to meet.
So he played bishop g7 check.
Feeble.
King into g7.
Isn't it better to resign rather than play?
Queen d4 check, king h6.
Yeah.
Rook d1. Knight h5. And then
Why do you play those bishop takes g7 moves? I just don't get it. Okay, that's as good an answer as I've heard. I can't think of any other reason. Well, okay, so summarising that game, you know, White held a pretty nice position out of the opening. I mean, I'm sure this position here after knight e4 was better for White. Just got to play it right. I mean, even this move knight fg5, which we criticised, the computers thought was good for White, although it's kind of counter to positional theory because White's got more space. Why are you exchanging pieces? Especially allowing Black to exchange off this lousy bishop. But maybe he just didn't like knight fd2, some move like h5, and Black gets an attack. I don't know. So anyway, the computers thought that in this position, knight e6 was the real mistake. If there was a mistake in this game, this is it. He should just play knight e4. And then White's must have the edge still, Ravi, with this knight on e4. I mean, I just don't see, you know, why not?
I like it. I like that, you know. I mean, you know, that's where computers, you know, I mean, they can calculate well, but positionally, you know, you look at the knight, you look at the bishop on e7.
I mean, I just don't think this is so bad for Black, you know, queen e7 and double the rooks and go h5. White must be under some sort of an attack. He's got a positional bind, but, you know, just bring the rook across and go h5. It's just so bad. Anyway, once he went knight e6, the die was cast. He got into this position where Black suddenly got the upper hand after that move e4. Knight e5 is threatened, so White's got to stop it. And then we got this position by force where Hawkins powered in and just finished it off quite nicely, actually. If truth be known, that was a nice finish. So it just goes to show, you know, you can't give a really strong player, you know, even one move, 1 inch in a game. Otherwise, they'll just take over the game and crush you off. So Tan did have a chance, but he failed to take it.
And in Howell against Simmons, Samuel Williams says that there's been some repetition of moves, so I'm suspecting it's going to end in a draw.
So what was it? Knight f5? G4?
Knight e3, rook f2.
Yes.
Knight h1.
Yes.
Rook f1.
Yeah.
Knight g3, rook f2. Second time repetition.
Of course, this could be Howell getting close to the time control. He's
nice. Howell has probably seen something. He's got 16 minutes left on the clock, 16 minutes each time pressure position. I kind of like Black in this position because even if you give a move, let's say in this question, you don't make any more move, then even the best that he can do is knight a3, isn't it? His king is stuck.
Well, I think h5. Why not h5? What's wrong with that? That looks right. If you're going to make a move with Black, not take the draw, then why not go h5? It looks good. you know, that really puts some pressure on white, doesn't it? He can't bring his knight out. We just take on g4. Rook h1 check is a serious threat. Well, it would be mate, in fact.
And you need the opening lines of those two bishops as well, so I think h5 makes sense in that regard as well.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So, I mean, if anybody wants to play for the win here, it looks like it's going to be black.
That's why I can't think about C1 and C2.
Well, first of all, h5. What are you doing now? You're going to play c4, are you? That looks dangerous as well. Of course, the point is that white's taking on g4 with check, so that will give white a little bit of time to recuperate. So, okay, so let's give my king a bit of air.
We play h4 again.
Or just march the pawn. Yeah, well, why not? You know, it takes white so long to unravel. By the time he's unraveled, the pawn is right down the other end. Yeah, why not? That looks good.
Yeah, I think.
Well, maybe William should go h5.
That's interesting, but there's repetition of moves now.
More repetition.
Yeah, knight h1 again, and I think after rook f1, he's got only. Probably he's going to.
Has he played rook f1?
H5. Rook f1 h5.
Has he played rook f1?
No, he hasn't played rook f1. He's just thinking.
So he can take a draw right away, or go for this bizarre line rook h2, right?
Okay.
Check king here.
But for rook f1.
Very risky.
For rook f1, can I play h5? That was the thing, isn't it?
What about after rook h2 if bishop d6 first?
Yeah, we looked at that. Then he goes rook h4, which gets even more bizarre. The computer seemed to think that was the move. Extraordinarily.
Bishop takes check.
Yeah. Very strange. I mean, it's just a bizarre position, isn't it? I can quite understand why either of them would be reluctant to enter into this sort of line. It's just bizarre.
I have a few more moves in.
So knight h1, Howell's thinking, right?
Yeah.
So really, actually, if we just retrace to here, rook f2, if black wants to play for a win, he's got to try h5, and I'm not sure I see what's wrong with that.
There's probably nothing wrong analytically, but psychologically, and gone through what they have, perhaps they just don't want to play anymore.
Maybe.
In that C4 line, C4, H4, white player should be fine.
Right. So which position was it?
This one, white player C4.
C4 now.
Yeah, H4.
H4. Bishop E5. Bishop F6. How quick is this pawn? Oops, sorry. How quick is the pawn? Very quick. Too quick, isn't it? Ironically, the funny thing is, the knight gets in on the action on F1, probably in this line. Bishop G2 and F1. It's incredible. We've seen the knight causing havoc on H1, it caused havoc on G1, and now it causes havoc on F1. Both rooks, both rooks, both rooks. Knight E2. The knight takes G3. Well, H5, it's intriguing. Why doesn't he do it? Let's just, again, we can check this out. We might as well use all the technology available. H5, knight H1 it gives us best. H5, apparently white can be very cool here and just go bishop E5 or knight F3. Bishop E5, bishop F6, bishop takes F6, G takes F6, now just take the pawn. Rook takes and then king C1. Wow. And just allow black to take on F3. Well, of course, white is exchange up for nothing. Okay, that is such a bizarre variation. It's not really surprising that they back out with a repetition, is it really?
No.
Because either side could lose this this sort of sequence in this sequence. So rook f2, knight h1, rook f1. What move are we on there?
So in Howell, after knight h1, he has gone rook h2.
Move 25?
Yeah. He played rook h2. He's avoided the draw and played rook h2. And black played bishop b6.
Yeah.
And now he played f4.
F4?
Yeah. And then now bishop f4.
Yeah.
I think he played rook h5 now, attacking on c5. But I don't like what I see here. It's quite dangerous, isn't it?
G5?
No, it looks like
e5 is not possible. So I think he should play bishop f3 check. King c1 and then knight g3. Yeah,
yes, that's
f3 check, king
yeah,
e1.
check. Now, if king e1, what is happening here? I don't think you can go king c1, can you? If you go king c1, this looks very unpleasant. So you've got to go king e1.
Yeah, bishop f3 check, king e1.
Now, how do you take the attack further?
Or should he now play just knight f2 check? And then if you go king c1.
Where, here?
Should he go knight g3 now and then rook c5, then bishop f3?
Well, which position?
I'm saying you shouldn't give bishop f3 check now.
Right.
And I think you should play now knight g3 back.
Knight g3, okay.
Then your
king e2.
Yeah. Now you need a good move now. You need to get the rook to d8 or something.
Why didn't you just move rook to d8 in the first place?
Yeah, I think so. It's going to be quite sharp. Rook d8 now.
Yeah.
Right, so Howell is playing on for the win with rook h2 in this position.
Quite tricky.
Bishop d6, f4, what a move. Bishop takes f4, rook h5. Well, rook d8 doesn't threaten anything, but it does tie down the knight.
Hawkins side.
Well, he goes rook takes c5. What do you do then? You could try. Let's have a look. Knight f2 check. Right, he comes up to e2 and knight e4. Threatening knight g3 check, protecting the pawn.
It's quite complicated.
Right, I think rook h3. Then rook d3 or rook. Trying to get that rook into the game.
Yeah,
I think I like the idea of very strange stuff. Okay, rook h2, he's going for the win.
Yeah.
Right, any more moves in?
Rook h2, bishop b6.
This is the game. f4,
Yeah,
bishop
f4,
takes
bishop
f4,
f4,
rook h5. That's it.
He's thinking. I think it's on the edge now.
Bachelor Pert, let's go back to that one. That was the most straightforward of the games. It looked like Nick Pert was just a pawn up for nothing, really.
Which one are we now?
Queen d4.
Move number?
18, coming and exchanging off the queen.
Move number 18, queen d4.
I think he played queen c1, didn't he?
Queen c1.
Yeah. Black's just a pawn up for nothing. I mean,
Bishop
that's what we can
d3
say.
in.
Bishop d3, yes.
Bishop e2.
Okay.
Bishop into e2.
Yeah.
Rook into e2.
Yeah.
Rook
Okay.
e8.
Yes, that was always on the
All
cards.
the Hoover coming up. Rook e8, rook e8. Rook e1, rook f8.
Right, so basically now Black rejected the exchange of rooks. That's a strange decision, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, you don't. Do you get into any trouble here? What if I go takes? takes king f7. How are you getting in there?
F5.
F5, queen e5. Okay, but it follows Pert's play, his style of taking no risk. So rook f8, fair enough.
G3.
Well, if that's White's best move, then.
And then queen d3 in king g2.
Queen d3, that is very strong. King g2.
And then king f7 steps out to cover those squares.
Yeah, 7.
Knight d1. Now rook e8 is ready to exchange the rooks.
Yeah.
Knight f2, rook e2, rook e2, queen e2, queen c5, queen into b2, queen d6.
Right, so queen a7 is answered by what?
Bishop d4.
Bishop d4, that's easy. All right, let's
So
just
queen
see that
d6
for the
threatening
people.
some perpetual checks.
Okay.
Queen back to e2,
Just a
stopping
second.
those perpetual checks.
So queen takes b2. What did White play now?
Queen d6, threatening some perpetual checks.
Queen d6.
Queen e2, g4, and Bert is thinking, move number 31, 7 minutes left on, he's got 19 minutes left, and he's played h6.
Isn't that bishop h4?
Bishop h4, queen d7 check.
And then king f8, or king h.
Yeah, but
sorry, king g8, sorry.
yeah, but h6 is quite safer because there's no g5 as well now, because he's created something to go and sit on h7. So it's just a bit more logical. I mean, he's not in a hurry to play bishop h4. So h6, I think Bert is going to win this one comfortably.
Well, let's give a few checks to see what happens. Check on d7. In g8, check on c8. h7, check on f5. And now your next trick. Should we agree a draw now? I think after queen d7, you've got to go queen e7. Well, as safe as houses.
Queen d7 check.
Queen e7.
You messed up this game yesterday. Did the ultra courses today?
Well, he tends to play ultra conservatively, in all positions.
I mean, was
So,
bishop h4 a win? Was bishop h4 a win? Like the gentleman said, oh, there was perpetual checks.
Well, let's just verify this variation first. Is that a clear win for black? Unless somebody can see something for white, there's no reason why it shouldn't be a win now. Because bishop h4 could easily come next, couldn't it? Yeah, I've got to play something like this. And now, can we play g6, just nudge you away? Queen d3. And now perhaps bishop h4.
Yeah, if knight moves away, queen e4 check, that's not the queen, that's what he wants to do.
Okay, what happened? There should have been a simpler way than this, one senses, but there we are. Queen c5, queen takes b2, queen d6. What did he do? Queen e2?
Queen e2.
Yeah, g4,
g4,
h6. That is the game. And now, any moves?
No more moves. Just thinking.
Can't get his knight in the game.
And now white has played queen b8.
Queen
Attack.
b8.
b8. And he thinks there's a perpetual there if he goes after the knight. This queen b7.
Why doesn't bishop e d4 win immediately?
Bishop d4, queen b7 check.
King g6.
Queen c6 check.
Queen king 8, king g8.
Okay,
h7.
so bishop d4, queen c7 check.
Well, I'm going to run to h7, aren't I?
Yeah, but
What are you doing?
F5 check?
Wins. Queen b8, bishop d4. Okay, we take off some pawns. But then, no moves. So, check king there.
But I don't.
He's
think-
taking his queen away from the diagonal, the white squares.
Hang on a minute. I don't think that Pert's going to play that. Pert's probably going to play queen e7.
But why does that win straight away?
Yeah, but
That just wins, doesn't it? Let's check this out.
So anyway, he could.
Yeah, this wins immediately. So why don't you think he's going to play it? I think he will play it. You can't go on playing ultra cautious moves when you've got a clear win on the board. I mean, White needed to keep his queen on this diagonal.
All right. And a lot of interesting stuff in Chris Watt's game. If you can go on to that.
Definitely changing the subject. Right, okay. Right, back we go toward. Okay, go on then. Queen A5, move 19.
A5, Queen A5, move number
19.
And played Queen D3, the stronger move.
Look at that.
And then Bishop into E5.
Yeah. Sorry? Queen D3?
Yeah, what was the gentleman saying? Former flatmates?
They use second queen. If not, they don't want to use it just makes me different.
There we are. We'll play something different.
So, Queen A5, Queen D3, powerful move. Bishop E5, Knight E5.
No, there's no knight E5. Rook E5, you mean?
Rook E5, sorry. Rook
Yeah.
E5, Queen C7, Rook double.
Well, we looked at this sort of position earlier.
Yeah.
F4, F5 is a very strong
Knight
idea.
C6, Bishop
Take
C6.
it off.
Knight C6, Bishop into C6,
F4.
Queen into C6, F4,
See, it's all coming true.
Queen A6, Queen A6, Rook A6.
Queen A6. Would I have taken that? Let's have a
Yeah,
quick look.
and then F5.
Hang on, not so fast. Why am I taking that queen off? I need that queen to mate him. Queen D2.
Nice queen, go for the mate. Okay, I don't know why he didn't play it. He played Queen D2, and he's also eyeing up the pawn on.
Queen D2 or F5. Come on. I don't understand that anyway. So, I mean, all rook endgames are drawn. Anybody knows that. So, queen takes A6.
Yeah.
Rook takes A6.
F5, E into F5.
So perhaps he just thinks this wins or wins a pawn or something.
Yeah.
I mean, this is also very difficult for black.
Okay.
But you know, Fernandez would play rook E8, but he can't even play that here because the rook takes D5. So black is in serious trouble here.
Yeah. So F5, he played EF5.
Okay. Rook
Rook
takes.
into D5, Rook E6.
Rook C1.
No, Rook F8.
No, it's White's move.
King F2.
Okay.
Rook F8. Rook E6, Fe6, Rook D7, and I think White's winning
This
this
is
one.
game over, isn't it?
King marching to.
Well, it all came true, didn't it? You know, yeah, the knight never really got into play, and F4, F5 was just the winning break.
So
Why should there be any problems at all for White in
Rook
converting this?
D7, black played Rook C8, threatening E5.
Well, am I threatening C6 directly?
Yeah.
Wait a minute, am I? Just a sec.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got to stop C6. All right. Well, King E3,
Rook C8, he played Rook E7.
Rook E7, just mopping up.
And then Rook C6, he played King E3.
Yeah, very easy. I mean, he could always come after this pawn on B4
And
when
black
it feels
played
like it.
G5.
This is resignable.
Black played G5 now.
King D3.
Yeah, I think King D3, King C4, he's going to mop up, isn't it?
Do you not, instead of G5, do you not play King F8 and when the white
Rook B7.
moves away, then play Z5?
Oh, well, okay. Let's take some pawns off. It's not difficult. Yeah, so actually, this was very thematic by John Ems. He played it quite nicely, didn't he? He just gave him no chance whatsoever. And I presume this endgame is just a quick mop-up. So G5, that's the position in the game?
Yeah.
Well, okay, let's state the obvious. What's wrong with King D3?
Yeah, what about D5 here? I mean, just thinking.
D5?
D5, E5, King D4. You know, just press on and win in that way.
Well, there's also Rook takes C5.
Then D6. Then King F8, yeah, okay.
Don't want to do that, do we?
We could just do Rook D7.
Yeah, Rook D, Rook
No, but
B7.
this is simpler. I like that King D3 is quite simpler. Okay, the principal problem here is that the black king is out of play. The rook is, you know, in a passive idle. black pawns on b4 and a3 can be picked up, and white has an extra piece with the king is.
All right, I'll give it a try. King d3, f4. Come on.
f4. I have to play gf4, gf4, king e4.
Oh, if you're going to do that, it's a bit of a spoil sport, aren't you?
Where's looking for C4 and D5?
It's a bit slow, I'm afraid. What do you want to play? You've got to find a move first. King f8.
King f8, rook h7.
There, let's come in and whip some more pawns off.
E5.
Eh?
E5.
E5, okay, come on.
No, we can ignore it. Oh, okay.
I have ignored it. Is it time for takes and f4? The last turkey in the shop. I don't know, is this so clear? Takes. King here, f3. Come on. Well, what's wrong with it? I don't see what's wrong with it. Who played that terrible move, rook a7?
King d3. Okay, I think that's
a lousy move. I don't know who suggested that.
So he hasn't even played king d3. He's just played rook b7. He's going to mop up the pawn on b4 and that's it.
He's probably petrified about f4, Ravi. No. So come to the other side and just take everything off that way.
So what's going to happen for e5 now? Rook b7, e5.
E5, I just ignore it. Rook takes pawn.
Then you're giving f4 check.
So what? King e4.
No, take my f4 first and then king e4.
All right, take on f4. The guru says take on f4. I take on f4. Is it what?
Is it resignable?
Okay, here we go. Gathering nuts in May. Listen, my friends. If you go here, I just go here, and you're struggling. Yeah, take this. Rook f6. He's playing for cheapos.
Yeah, of course. Rook f8.
Okay, well let's not play a 1 minute game in an analysis session. So
so he's played e5.
Rook b7. That's it. Yes, he played e5. Okay, only chance.
And is it rook b6 now, or what's that king and pawn endgame after rook b6?
Actually, rook b6 might be cleanest of all.
Then f4 check king e4, and then he can't touch any of the thing. And if he goes back rook c7, and then I can just play gf4, and then gf4, and then king e5, f3, rook f6. So can I play rook b6 now? Please.
I've done that. You don't have any moves apart from rooks back, do you?
Yeah, then I can pick up on h6, isn't it? I mean, that's win.
As long as I can cope with f4, I'll be all right. What was that other line? Rook takes b4, f4 check, takes, king e4, e takes d4.
Well, that would go to first instead of e takes d4.
Well, first of all, what was wrong with this? I played king d5, f3, takes, rook f6.
Not so put the f4 first. You just play c6
here. Well, f2. And then for my next trick. Okay, so it does require a little bit of care. So let's have a think. E5.
Okay, rook b6, what's happening?
Well, rook c8.
Okay. And
I mean, clearly you can take on h6. There's nothing wrong with that.
Can I take on b4 instead?
The difference being?
The difference being that if you play f4 check king e4,
which I will,
king e4, ed king d4, and then if you play f3, can the rook get back on time?
This doesn't feel right somehow.
F3 doesn't lose to c5.
Right. Yeah, that's a variation.
Eh?
Yeah, that's a variation. That one just went to 5.
Yeah, I try and push them up away from C6. They expose them.
Trying to look for a nice, clean way to win this.
That line,
I mean, for instance, okay, just let's say, right, I take this pawn, right? Let's play something completely counterintuitive. He takes king here. Now, what's your move? Rook here, presumably, yes? Okay, e6. Okay, rook a2, king e5. No, I don't think this is a very good idea. A2, rook there. Everything's under control. Yeah, this is another 1 minute game, which I'm not going to be drawn into.
Okay, let's look at
Okay, it's not so easy. It's not so easy. Chris is causing a bit of confusion with e5. Right, any other games? Howell versus Williams, what have we got? This was the most exciting game. So exciting that it stupefied the commentators. Are there any moves? Rook h5, 27. He's still completely silenced by this game.
Rook h5, bishop f3 check,
Yes.
king e1,
Yes,
bishop g3 check,
Yes.
king f1,
yes,
king g6,
yes.
knight c3 development,
He didn't take on c5.
rook f8,
Okay, there's something wrong with that.
king g1,
Hang on. Right, rook f8. So that's probably what would have happened after rook I takes c5, isn't it?
yeah, rook
Can we just
f8.
check that out? Just not so fast, because I mean, really, let's just check it out. Convince ourselves this is the line. It looks very dangerous. So White's king is under terrific fire here.
Okay, can I play bishop g4 check and then king g2, rook f2 check, king h1, bishop f3?
I can't believe that White can survive that. So that's the reason he went knight c3. So
Knight
rook f8?
Rook f8,
Yeah.
king f1,
No, it's already there.
king e1,
No, illegal.
so rook h5, bishop f3, king e1, bishop
Well,
d3 check.
not so
king
fast. King e1,
King f1,
bishop g3 check,
yeah, king f1,
king f1,
king g6,
king g6.
knight c3 development,
Okay,
rook f8, discovered check. Setting up a discovered check, rook f8.
Okay.
And now king g1 getting out of it.
king g1. That king has been through a few
And then
adventures.
bishop f2 check,
Hang on a sec. So this is going to be another draw, is it?
bishop f2 check, king h2, and then he's played bishop g4.
Well, Williams is playing for the win here, isn't he?
What I don't like about the position after bishop g4 is that that rook is struggling, isn't it? He can take the exchange anytime, isn't it, with bishop h5. And then your rook has no squares, basically. Rook e5, bishop g3 check, king h1, and then bishop e5. And that should be winning for black as well, isn't it? So I think that...
So he played bishop takes g4 now.
Bishop takes g4.
Okay, so let's coolly take a look at this. Now I can take on h1 with the rook. Is that not possible?
If you take on h1, then he plays bishop h5, and then he's all right, isn't it? So you are like...
And what black probably should be
pawn
winning.
down, two bishops, angling on you. It's quite difficult, isn't it? But that rook has no squares. That's the point I'm making now.
And if rook e5, yeah, you're quite right.
You know, like rook a7, about desperado.
Now there's another 1 minute suggestion. So rook h3, apparently.
Take no. Take rook takes h7 first.
Rook h3,
King takes h7. Rook takes here, bishop here. And there'll be some ambush coming up with rook h1, rook h8. Incredible position.
so can he play rook h3 here?
Rook h3, yes, that is the best move according to the comp.
So bishop into h3, king into h3, and then the knight is a bit funny on g3.
Knight g3,
and
king
then
g2, h5. Oh, this is the it's getting stranger and stranger, isn't it? So black is a pawn up here, but he still apparently hasn't coordinated his forces incredibly after knight d1.
So there's one more move, and this is quite interesting.
Right.
So there's one more move in Hens against.
Well, let's not go away. Any more moves in Howell versus Williams?
No.
One thing at a time.
No.
So bishop takes g4. That's the position.
Yeah, that's the question.
Right. Well, let me just get rid of the moves here. Lovely. Okay. Now we'll move on to Emsby Ward. All right. Now.
He played rook e7.
e5, rook e7.
f4 check.
Wait a minute. f4 check. Yes.
gf4, gf4.
Yes.
And I have a feeling that's going to be quite difficult for. I mean, if you play king e4, ed4, king d4, black has to play with some counterplay, isn't it? It's not very easy.
Well, let's see if he calculated this out. So king e4, you take on d4.
He's got to take f4. You can't take on d4.
I can play king d5 though.
Then d3.
But then I take the rook. f3 rook. Oh no, maybe I can't. f3, yeah, f3. I can take the rook.
So he has played f4, king e4, and he's waiting for black's move.
He didn't take on f4.
He took on f4 once, gf4,
Yeah.
gf4,
King e4.
king e4, and then I think if he's taking on d4, he's going to play king d5.
Yeah, that probably gains a tempo.
So f3 now, is it rook e1?
f3, just move the rook back.
Okay, can he play rook g6 or something like that?
c6, he instantly moves that rook, we push.
Okay, so obviously I need to allow f2 to play first, so get the rook out, so I can get the king out in safety. So can he play rook g6 and then c6, king f7?
Yeah, but the thing is, I can look after the pawns, can't I? I mean, that c pawn's going to win the game for white if white can just handle the black pawn. So.
My plan is just to grab the evening.
I don't see why they're just taking the d pawn and just putting the rook on f1. There's just no counterplay.
What, in this position?
Yeah, just.
Maybe that just wins.
It's just going to win the d pawn.
Rook f6.
Just rook e1.
Rook e1, f3. I suppose we're cutting the king off. This should be a win. I mean, for instance, black's playing without the king, so why should black have any chances? That's probably what he intends then. Any more moves? 37.
No, king e4 and thinking. I have one more move in the Howell game, which is rook h7.
Right. So hang on. He went rook h7.
Yeah.
Well, that's extraordinary stuff because now
King h7.
King h7.
Rook h1.
Rook h1. Bishop f3.
Rook f1.
Rook f1 and then bishop c6.
That's getting murdered on the long diagonal, I think. Knight d1.
Knight d1.
King's got to come off, that's where. It's got to check.
Bishop g3 checking. g1 and then bishop h2 check.
Yes, that's it. So in this position, sorry, here, he's got to find a good move. King h3, wow. Rook f4, that looks nasty. That's probably the threat anyway, isn't it? I think that is actually the threat. So, you know, white can't pass because rook f4. He can't pass. Rook f4 sets up unstoppable mate, doesn't it? What? But yeah, but they're still going to get mated, aren't you? Rook F5.
Wow, okay. There's not it's not king h3 now.
King H3. Shouldn't think so, but.
So he's played rook h7, king h7, rook h1, not king h1, rook h1.
Yeah, we got it. Bishop F3.
Bishop f3 is rook f1.
That is the game.
Not yet, but still thinking. It's got 1 minute 10 seconds. Bishop f3 played now. And
Bishop F3. The evaluations getting bigger for white, for black.
For black, is it?
Well, it's not really surprising, is it? I mean, look at the position.
It was a real hard move to find rook h3, though, wasn't it?
Well, Howell played on, really, didn't he? He took a risk when he played rook h2. He didn't need to do that.
F1.
Could have taken a draw. This is the game.
Rook f1.
Yes.
He's played rook f1 now, and then
Bishop c6 or bishop b7 either.
So can you play bishop d4? Bishop d4 is knight a4, isn't it? So bishop c6. Can he play?
You just move your bishop.
He's played bishop c6 now. It's
Yeah.
now threatening bishop g3 check. King
No.
g1, bishop h2 check, winning that.
No, I'm threatening rook f4. That is the threat. Believe me.
So can I play knight e2 now?
Then rook f5.
Rook f.
5. You ain't coming back from this.
What does the monster say?
Minus 2.54 minimum.
Yeah. And then I think it will be a very big surprise if David Howell, he loses this game, and then
Well, I think it's like I said earlier. Neither of them want to back down, do they?
Yeah.
It's really a macho thing. This whole game has been that sort of atmosphere all the way round. Don't want to take a draw. Williams didn't take the rook. He went for the attack. Neither side wants to back down at all. And so, somebody's short of time, aren't they? Who's short of time?
24 seconds for Howell to make the move.
I think he's.
20 seconds, and Simon Williams has to.
I don't even see what move he makes.
92, I think, possibly.
Then rook f5.
Knight b1 he's played. He's given up that.
What did he play?
Knight b1.
Knight b1.
Knight d1. Bishop g3 check.
Knight d1.
Knight d1. Bishop d3 check.
Okay, well that's
d1.
Right. With the exchange.
Knight.
Bishop g3.
Knight g3 check. Bishop g3. King into g3. Rook into f1. And I expect some knight e3, but I think black should win this, isn't it?
Is this the game?
Yeah.
This is the game.
Yeah. Knight e3 played. Isn't black winning this one? Rook f3 check, and then.
Don't see any reason why not, because rook f3 check forces rook f2, doesn't it?
Rook f3 check, king g4, rook f2. But
And if d3, rook e2.
yeah. Okay, a few more moves in this what move. I mean, this is stabilized.
Okay, well that was the only way for white, or he would have got mated, so he had to surrender the exchange. It's been a strange game, hasn't it, all the way through? My
And
goodness.
rook f3 check play. Rook f3 check.
Wait a minute, which game?
In Howell's game, rook f3 check play.
So bishop g3.
Bishop g3, king g1, king into g3, rook into f1, knight d3, rook f3 check play.
Yeah.
And then if the king goes to g4, it's rook f2, isn't it?
I think white faces rook f2, whatever happens.
Okay, and we have some more development in.
Should be a win for Williams, that, but of course he's got 4 isolated pawns.
So can we just go to that game where he played?
Which game were we looking at? M's Ward?
M's Ward, yeah. After gf4, gf4, king e4 he played.
Yeah.
Black played rook f6.
Yeah.
King into e5.
So just a minute, rook f6.
King e5.
If he takes the pawn, we go f3. Is that the idea?
Yeah, that's the idea. So, but he took king e5. So that's a clever sequence.
Hang on a minute. So king e5, yes.
King e5, you can't play f3 because king f6, f2, rook e8 check, king f7. So what's wrong with F3 now?
The answer is that white plays king g6 after taking the rook. Sorry, f3 takes here. That's the answer.
Right. I think the morning game is lost. So now what's happened was he's played rook f8. He's played king d5.
So rook f6, king takes e5.
Yeah, f3.
F3.
Rook
No.
e1.
No. We must get the variations right. 36, rook f6.
Yeah.
So what?
We played king in d5.
King e5.
Rook f8.
Okay.
King d5.
King d5.
f3.
Yeah. Rook e1.
Rook e1.
Yeah.
I think this is f2, and then the king and the 2 pawns has got to win now, isn't it? I see a win for Hawkins.
Well, it's hard to see. It's hard to see anything for black after f2, rook f1, because you can't then move your king, and then white just comes and lops off all the pawns. So
you can bring the rook down to f2 and put it up to f1.
The only idea for black is straight out and forth.
king f7.
G7.
Well, then you never survive against white's pawns. Well, black's got to play king f7, hasn't he? Otherwise, that's it. So let's see. How are we going to get the pawns rolling? The obvious way is to play c6 here,
And in
here,
in M's war,
here.
after rook e1, black resigned. So
Rook f1, black resigned.
rook e1, black resigned. There's no f2. So there's only one game going on, and I think.
So c6, black resigns.
No, he didn't play rook e1. He resigned. He didn't play king f7. He didn't play anything. He resigned. So
Right.
that must be a big bit of a blow, after he had this fantastic game against Hebden. And I think that in that game, the decisions he seems to make is leading to this position where white sort of. I mean,
Well, show me the 100% win then after king f7.
King c4, king takes b4, king takes a3.
no, okay, can we go c6? Can we go c6? Yeah, king e7. King
No, there's no king e7. I have to play this first.
f2, rook f1, king c5, and then it's going to be d5, d6, and
I've seen better positions.
okay.
Okay. I must admit, the thought of you having 4 queens is putting me off. Yes, that is very strong. Okay, so he resigned. Well, in the end, quite well played by John Ems.
Yeah, and I think that CD5 decision was definitely, not correct. ED5 was should have played, that gave a massive pass pawn on C5, isn't it?
Now, can we go back to Bachelor versus Pert? Because you were saying that he wouldn't play bishop d4. This is the position in the game.
Yeah.
32, queen b8. And
He
I said
played
I
bishop
thought he would.
e4.
He played it.
Queen B7
Right.
check, King G6.
Hang on. Queen b7 check.
King G6, Queen C6, King F7 resigns.
All that fuss over nothing. Okay, so he did play it. Okay, fair enough. Well, I mean, okay, White got into terrible trouble in the opening, didn't he? This was the turning point when he went in for this piece sacrifice. White has to settle for bishop d3 and an equal position, which is fine, of course, because now bishop b5 check really got him into trouble. Bishop c2 check was bold but good, and after that, Pert just ignored the bishop on b5 because he realised that ultimately that bishop would have to move, for instance here, and that gives him a tempo to arrange his position. And what Black's just a pawn up for nothing. After that, it was just Pert technique, wasn't it? Playing without risk, gradually improving the position, and then he won in the end. So pretty straightforward. I'm sure when White looks back on this, he'll rue giving that check. Right, so that leaves us with one game left, the crazy game Howell versus Williams. So can we have an update?
No more moves, that's it.
You mean, one guy should have lost on time by now, no?
No, rook f3 check. 40th move played, 45 minutes for Howell. It's going to go extra time now.
Yeah, this is going to be a long one. But I mean, you think that black should win. Extra exchange plus a big pass pawn. It's going to take some time though. Howell will be annoyed. Annoyed because he'll probably feel he should have won that. Where? God knows. But Williams in this position.
Yeah, just one more move for rook f3 check, king g4.
Yeah.
And then now allowing rook f2.
Rook f2 comes.
Played in the game.
That's the game, and now white has to find a good move. Well, I mean, okay, Williams proves time and time again that fortune favours the brave. I mean, this is what's happened in this game. He went for it when he could have taken the rook in this position. He should have taken the rook according to the computer, but he didn't. He went for it and created confusion. I'm sure, once again, the computer evaluation is better for white, but still got to be proven. And in the end, defending this position proved quite difficult, even this position. Bizarre. And really, actually, white should have taken the draw, but he didn't. Should have just gone rook f1, knight g3, draw through. That would have been logical. Once he's gone rook h2, then again the black initiative picks up steam. He's trying to. This sequence of moves is so unlikely, and there was really nothing he could do here. It's extraordinary, isn't it? Rook h7. Could he improve on that? Yes, he probably could. He had to go rook h3 in this position. Rook h3, that was it, equal. But I mean, he probably used up so much time that he has to go here. When the pieces remain on bizarre squares. But even this position, you know, takes, knight here, king g2, h5, you know, I would imagine this is actually still quite difficult to defend for white.
But I think, you know, that's the kind of situation where...
Well, yeah, you can probably get a repetition, something like this, yeah. Maybe he can take a draw because of the attack on the bishop and knight. So, just to summarise, it's quite an interesting afternoon. Tam v Hawkins, white was better, but then he misjudged the position. And after that, Hawkins played a very nice attack. Ems v Ward, very good. I think that is probably the best game of the day in terms of quality, because John Ems played a very steady game all the way through and actually outplayed Chris Ward very nicely. Howell v Williams has been just, the only way to describe it is bizarre all the way through, full of twists and turns, and it may be very entertaining. Yeah, very entertaining. But I'm sure if Howell loses, he'll be incredibly hacked off about it because he could have taken a draw. Long way to go. And Bachelor was a straightforward win for black. So I hope you enjoyed the afternoon. If you're watching live online, join us again tomorrow. And to the audience in Aberystwyth, thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow. And thanks to Ravi, of course.
Thank you.